When he finally stopped acting like a total simp for the childhood crush he chased for 18 years, he married an absolutely unhinged Yandere female boss. Everyone else called him cold and heartless, but only he knew that the Yandere was his true love. See, in his previous life he spent 5 whole years chasing after that gorgeous campus beauty, eventually paying a $3 million bride price just to marry her and bring her home. After that, he worked his fingers to the bone, successfully clawing his way up to become a multimillionaire. But that campus beauty, all for the sake of her secret lover, actually poisoned his wine glass, sending him straight to the grave through sudden cardiac arrest. It was only after his life ended and his soul left his body that he realized someone had been silently guarding him all along. For him, she attended his funeral, threw away all her power, wealth, and status, and personally ended that trashy couple so he could rest in peace. She stumbled and staggered to his coffin, staring at his eternally sleeping face. Her voice trembled. "Why couldn't you just stay by my side? From the very beginning, all I ever wanted was you." Floating in midair, he stared blankly at the woman in front of him. In that moment, his soul felt like it had been struck by lightning. Then she took her own life to join him in the afterlife. He threw his arms wide open, desperately trying to stop her. Nothing. His spectral body grasped empty air. He didn't understand why. Why treat him like a mere plaything? And why go to such lengths to avenge him? His heart felt like it was being ripped to shreds. When he opened his eyes again, he found he had been reborn back in Winter's Rose Manor. Before he could even process the situation, he locked eyes with a pair of dangerously bewitching eyes. The woman slightly raised an eyebrow. "Without my permission, you dare to zone out?" He looked at the furious Winter right in front of him. Instead of feeling terrified, he put on a meek expression and sweetly called her master. Right. After that, he planted a massive sloppy kiss right on her cheek. That single action completely short-circuited the woman, who was holding a rope. Her domineering aura seemed to shatter into a million pieces instantly. "Call me wifey." "Okay, I'll give you my life." After a night of entangled passion, he paid a billionaire's price. The next day, when he finally opened his eyes, he found the space beside him completely empty. Only the crimson evidence on the snowy white bed sheets stood out glaringly. Thinking back to everything that happened in his previous life, he had a crazy, bold idea, and honestly, who could blame him? At the end of the day, in his past life, she was the one who helped him get revenge, and she gave up her life, her struggles, and everything she had built over a lifetime just to do it. Besides, last night was actually her first time. Why not try to actually get along with her in this life, even if she might be a naturally paranoid Yandere? Beep, beep, beep. Right at that moment, his phone started buzzing relentlessly. It was his absolute best bro, Sammy. "Bro, don't do anything stupid now. So what if your confession got rejected by the campus beauty? There's plenty of fish in the sea. Sophomore year is starting soon. That'll help you forget all your troubles. Oh, by the way, do you want me to send another cake to the campus belle to try and win her back?" Gavin's thoughts snapped back to reality. His memory of the timeline was spot on. The campus belle Sammy was talking about was Nena, that absolute toxic girl who cheated on and poisoned him in his past life. Who on earth would ever keep being her loyal simp and send a cake to win her back? Yeah, right. But then again, he was reborn. That meant everything could still be changed. Who knew? Maybe he could become a billionaire before hitting 30 this time. As for Nena, that toxic poison master, the absolute worst her future autopsy report would show is human tissue found among a pile of toxic needles. But before that, he absolutely needed to stabilize Winter. He had worked his butt off to get into a good university. He definitely could not get expelled for being locked up in a basement again. Thinking of this, he dragged himself out of bed. He walked into the bathroom, ready to freshen up. He looked at himself in the mirror, sporting a mop of awful blonde hair. Dressed like a total absolute clown. No wonder he looked so basic back then, with That in mind, he quickly changed into normal clothes and left the manor. To find a barber shop, after dyeing his hair back to black and getting a fresh trim, he felt fantastic. He happened to walk past a bakery, remembering that Winter loved strawberry cake. He conveniently bought a slice for her. Right at that moment, Nena called him. Gavin, although you have been really good to me all these years, I still want to focus on my studies first. Also, I hope you can have a little self-awareness. I really don't like you, but if you stop being nice to me just because I rejected you, then I will think you didn't like me as much as you claimed in your love letters. She rattled off a whole bunch of nonsense. He almost had a brain aneurysm listening to her. Nena, go get your brain checked, seriously. After dropping that bomb, he quickly hung up the phone, hanging up right on the spot before she could even finish casting her spell. Oh, that felt satisfying. Right then, a Maybach slowly pulled up beside him. The muscular butler Luke scooped him up with one hand and tossed him into the car. Dressed in a sharp black suit, Winter sat in the back seat. She held a slender woman's cigarette between her fingertips. Frowning slightly, she took a drag, saying, "You ran away again." Only then did he realize his fatal mistake. He had left the Rose Manor just to get a haircut. Not reporting to Winter was bad enough, but he had even just answered a call from Nena. Winter reached out and gently caressed his face. But baby, were you just on the phone with Nena? As soon as she finished speaking, she dominantly pulled him into her embrace. Before he could even react, Winter's lips crashed onto his, silencing him. She paused to catch her breath, warning, "You're being a bad boy. I should have locked you up a long time ago. Maybe iron chains would suit you better, but I really can't bear to break your legs." He could barely breathe, gasping for air heavily. He choked out, "You misunderstood me, big sister." Dangerous glint flashed in Winter's eyes. "Big sister," he quickly corrected, "master." After correcting himself, he pulled out the strawberry cake. He only went out because he wanted to buy her a cake and got a haircut while at it. He had absolutely no intention of running away. Winter looked surprised, her pitch black eyes scrutinized him closely. He tried his best to look as utterly sincere as possible. Gavin has already thought it through. She has been sponsoring his education all these years, not to mention what happened between them last night. He promises to take responsibility for her. Honestly, if he hadn't fought back so fiercely in his past life, he wouldn't have been imprisoned by Winter for 2 whole years, and he wouldn't have been expelled from school either. Hearing this, Winter narrowed her eyes. The aura around her became increasingly dangerous. The next second, she bit his lip as a punishment. He sucked in a sharp breath of cold air. He knew this woman's temper all too well. She was a literal demon king. Going along with her was his only way to survive. Going against her would only mean worse bullying. He hesitantly tried to respond to her kiss. This single action made Winter almost lose control entirely. Even if she kissed him until he suffocated, she'd gladly sink into it. He gasped for air greedily. Unable to resist, he asked, wanting more. Did she want to continue? Winter completely exploded in anger upon hearing this. What kind of trick are you playing now? Remember this. All of your time, every minute, every second, belongs to me. You will never ever escape in this lifetime. Gavin finally realized his mistake. In the past, to escape from Winter's side, he had literally tried every trick in the book, including this exact fake submission tactic, which he thought he just used last month. No wonder Winter didn't buy it. He sighed and told Winter that seriously, he doesn't like Nena anymore. She is infinitely better than her in every way. He cannot possibly stay blind forever. He only hoped she wouldn't lock him up after he worked so hard to get into university. He really didn't want to get expelled, hoping to make enough money in the future to bring his parents to the city to enjoy a good life. Hearing these words, the murderous aura around Winter instantly vanished. It was like she transformed from a bloodthirsty tiger into an adorable kitten. Really? She asked. Seeing his smooth talking work, Gavin kept going, saying he was truly willing to stay by her side and would never run away. Winter stayed Silent for a long time before finally relenting, Gavin was safely escorted back to the Rose Manor. Winter looked down at the strawberry cake in her hands, thinking she knew. These might just be tricks to deceive her, but she gladly accepted them. If he was still planning to run away, then she would. Dark thoughts flashed through Winter's mind. Meanwhile, Nena was in absolute shock. He actually rejected her bestie Khlo asked when Gavin was bringing the milk tea over, as they were about to die of the heat. Nena frowned since she had not told her bestie yet. And he actually insulted her just now. How did he dare to insult her with his low-tier status? He should be grateful just to be friends with a goddess like her. Khlo snatched Nena's phone and furiously typed a message to Gavin, if you don't buy us milk tea for a month when back on campus. They would not even be friends anymore. Seeing the message from Nena's account, Gavin's eyes twitched. Nena was not worth a single strand of Winter's hair. He turned off his phone. Gavin planned to find Winter to discuss lifting his grounding order. After all, he wanted to make some extra cash before the semester started. Sadly, because of his numerous past escape attempts, the legendary black card Winter had given him was still completely frozen to this day. Otherwise, Gavin would be out there building his business empire right now. Inside the Rose Manor villa, Winter was draped in a light apricot lace nightgown. Her curvaceous figure lounged gracefully on the sofa. Winter rested her head on her left hand and held a book in her right. Her demeanor was elegant yet wonderfully decadent, a woman as beautiful as an immortal. Gavin knocked and walked in. He told her he wanted to discuss something. Winter lifted her eyes to look at him. In a commanding tone, she ordered him over to speak. Summer break had started now, and Gavin wanted to earn some money before school started, so he might not be at the manor during the day, but promised he would return at night. Surprisingly, Winter agreed very readily to his request this time. She told him to take old Luke. She agreed, warning him to return before dark. Otherwise, she would get angry. Gavin almost couldn't believe it. Wouldn't she be worried? He suggested she could just install some kind of tracking device on his phone or a GPS, promising to fully cooperate. Winter gave a cold, knowing smirk. Already installed. No wonder he could never escape in his past life. If that was the case, escaping her grasp back then was completely impossible. Her restricting his freedom back then had been entirely her unilateral decision. After a very, very long silence between them, Gavin finally couldn't hold it in, apologizing for ruining her garden. She dismissed it easily. Winter lowered her eyes slightly and raised her noble, jade-like fingers to turn another page. Gavin asked why she liked red roses so much. He didn't like them, but she planted so many. Winter's voice grew softer and softer, eventually turning into light, rhythmic breathing. Only then did Gavin realize Winter had fallen asleep at some point. Seeing her asleep, he gently draped his coat over her. Right then, his phone vibrated. Luke texted him asking if he was with Boss Winter. She fell asleep. Luke was shocked. Her mental state had been extremely terrible lately. She went 3 days straight without sleeping a few days ago, and they even had to arrange a counselor. If she really fell asleep, Gavin must not wake her up. 3 days straight without sleeping. Hearing that, he maintained his current posture for the entire afternoon. Looking at the dark circles under Winter's eyes, Gavin's heart suddenly ached for her, so he consulted Dr. Wright about her condition. Rather than saying she likes red roses, it was more accurate to say she relies on them. Ever since Gavin ruined all the red roses, she had not had a good night's sleep in a long time. Her mental state was actually quite concerning, seeming constantly terrified of losing something. Gavin took a deep, sharp breath. Anxiety, He remembered that keeping fish could help relieve anxiety. Perfect timing, as he was just about to head out to make some money. Once he made some cash, he would buy some fish for her. With that decided, he got ready to head out. Luke noticed Gavin had not taken his keys yet. Seeing him about to leave, the butler hurried over. Honestly, some details from his past life were a bit blurry. He had a car. Luke nodded, saying she gave them all. To him, he briefly glanced at the car keys in the butler's hand. Rolls-Royce, Bentley, Lamborghini, Ferrari, Pagani, a dazzling array of purely luxury supercars. All. So which key belongs to him? Turns out, every single one. Gavin stares at the massive keyring in shock. He gasps for air, completely stunned. What did the butler just say? This is absolutely mind-blowing. Why even struggle after being reborn when he can just rely on a wealthy sugar mommy instead? Seriously, why was he so proud and stubborn in his past life? This is the ultimate shortcut. 10 minutes later, Gavin is behind the wheel of a Bugatti Veyron, heading straight for Sammy's place. Stopping right outside the building, the roaring hypercar instantly grabs Sammy's attention. Sammy immediately unleashes a wave of playful mockery, mixed with some seriously intense jealousy. But once Gavin explains the insane reality, his best friend just stares in pure disbelief. Gavin tells him to hop in. He still wants to use his $500 to start a business. Soon, they reach the wholesale market. Gavin immediately comes up with a crazy scheme. Deciding to pair the luxury hypercar with black stockings, he recruits his best bro. He forces Sammy into a black maid outfit. Just tell them these are authentic premium stockings. Within just 10 minutes, the cheap batch they bought is already flying off the shelves. Buying for $10 and selling for $200, they completely clean out their inventory. Even the calm butler Luke is left completely speechless by this bizarre hustle. Suddenly, Luke gets a call from Winter, demanding to know why Gavin is not answering her. Her voice is terrifyingly calm, hiding a dark storm beneath the surface. It feels like it could swallow everything whole. Her eyes are locked onto her phone screen. She stares intensely at a photo showing another woman standing right next to Gavin. The figure is wearing a maid outfit and black stockings, looking incredibly cheap and vulgar. She figures he simply dumped Nena and replaced her with someone else entirely. How interesting, Winter whispers, her chilling words sharp enough to slice through bone. As night falls and a light drizzle starts, Gavin remains completely oblivious to his impending doom. 50 pairs of stockings are sold out in just under half an hour. With this kind of insane profit margin, how could anyone expect him to stop now? Definitely not, no way, so he turns right around and buys even more stock. He grabs another 100 pairs, making his best bro keep wearing the outfit to bait the customers. Another half hour passes, and those 100 pairs are completely cleaned out as well. Today's profit is $25,600. Right then, Sammy receives a message. It is from Nena, asking if he managed to get the contact info of the Ferrari guy. She begs him, saying she desperately needs it. Hearing this, Sammy rolls his eyes hard. He cannot resist sending Gavin's actual contact info straight to Nena. She tells him to stop joking, claiming Gavin could never actually own a Ferrari. Sammy replies, so you do realize that Gavin has barely any money to his name. He worked endless part-time jobs just to pay for his studies and support himself. Never spending a single dime on himself, he saved every penny for her instead. He bought her whatever she wanted. If she did not like him, she should have just rejected him. Stringing him along like this is honestly disgusting, looking down on him with snobby eyes. He challenges her to come down to the Golden Lotus wholesale market right now. Today, she is about to witness an epic, protagonist-level payback session. The Gavin she looked down on is now handsome and driving a gorgeous Ferrari. Getting the location pin, Nena cannot help but frown at the message. She wonders if Sammy has completely lost his mind and started hallucinating things. But as luck would have it, she is already near that exact wholesale market. She taps the pin and realizes she is only about 200 meters away. Should they check? Nav frowned at Preston. Sammy had clearly lost his mind. A Bugatti Veyron, absurd, yet Sammy claimed Gavin owned one right down here. They were apparently at the wholesale market. Honestly, how was that even possible? Preston adjusted his glasses, trying to look mature. Fine, let us go. They would go see this famed Bugatti owner for themselves. Arriving at the location, they found no car, just a girl selling stockings. Dressed as a maid, she looked vibrant, incredibly gorgeous, absolutely stunning. Her looks could easily rival Nena's. See, K.H. Lowe smugly pointed it out. No way Gavin owns a Bugatti. K.H. Lowe rolled her eyes with sheer disdain. Na felt a quiet wave of disappointment wash over her. Then she froze. Before she could step closer, a dozen suited men suddenly marched into view. Brandishing black umbrellas, they walked in unison, led by a commanding woman. She wore a sharp, dark-tailored suit. Her high heels clicked with power. Every step demanded respect. Honestly, who wouldn't stop and stare at her? This was that terrifying, painful gap between the ultra-rich and ordinary people. Now watched the woman's retreating back. Suddenly, she found it hard to breathe. Who on earth was she? For the first time, Na felt utterly crushed. She had grown up bathed in constant praise, the star of her world. But one look at Winter sent her spiraling into a deep pit of inferiority. Her beauty, her only pride, was completely and utterly defeated. She was crushed without a fight. Still, she wanted one more look. But the mysterious woman had already stepped inside a sleek Rolls-Royce Phantom. The Bugatti followed behind, and both luxury cars silently sped away. Meanwhile, inside the private ride, Winter removed her rain-soaked suit jacket. Gavin's breath hitched in shock. Before he could react, she grabbed him. She dominantly pinned his hands, pressing him firmly back against the seat. A passionate kiss fell instantly, leaving absolutely no room for any argument. She demanded to know why he couldn't be a good boy as he tried to resist. Intertwining her fingers tightly with his, she pinned them to the seat. Gavin gasped, asking what was wrong. Her eyes burned with a dangerous light. She fiercely asked why he was with another woman, leaving him utterly stunned. Finally realizing she meant Sammy, Gavin quickly tried to thoroughly explain everything. He explained he would have come back sooner, but Dr. Wright interfered. The doctor thought she seemed anxious lately, suggesting he buy something to relax. But the moment those words left Gavin's mouth, Winter went completely wild. She growled that every inch of his skin belonged solely to her. Once he finally got home, Gavin popped open the car's trunk. He brought out the Ranchu goldfish he bought, searching for Winter inside. Goldfish are known to relieve anxiety, so he hoped they would help. Apparently, Ranchu fish come in many vibrant colors, so he chose two. A snow leopard and a red and white fish were happily blowing bubbles. Standing nearby, Assistant Quinn could not help but complain. He called the fish ugly. Their heads looked like giant, growing tumors. He thought they looked brainless and heard they were tough to keep alive. Butler Luke instantly glared at Quinn. What an absolute idiot. Quinn still had not read the room. Winter pulled a sharp butterfly knife from a drawer, spinning it nimbly through her fingers. She stared deeply at the Ranchu fish and the tank, pure carnage radiating from her. Meanwhile, Quinn kept on, running his mouth, asking Gavin if he knew Boss Winter had absolutely zero interest in fish, but before he finished, Winter had already flipped the sharp blade right up to Quinn's neck, demanding to know if he had said enough. If you do not know how to use your tongue, I can cut it off. Quinn swallowed hard in sheer panic, apologizing profusely to Boss Winter. Butler Luke watched with pure schadenfreude, chiming in that the two fish Gavin gifted actually showed real thought. After all, Gavin thinking of Boss Winter right after earning his first cash proved he truly cared. Hearing those words, the violent aura vanished. She turned her back, naming them Little Dot and Little Flower. Gavin stood there, completely stunned by this sudden development. He turned his head to ask Winter what was going on, only to find her gazing back at him with incredibly gentle eyes, totally different from her murderous glare from just seconds ago. She now gave off the vibe of a sweet puppy begging for praise, silently asking if those were good names. The next morning, Gavin was in the kitchen preparing breakfast. Butler Luke stood right by his side, looking like it physically pained him, suggesting they let the family housekeeper handle breakfast instead. What the butler actually agonized over was the expensive pot A fully glazed clay pot worth $70,000. Gavin assured him it was fine, while stirring the slightly burnt bottom of the clay pot, replying with a nervous grin. He mentioned that making kanji required waking up early, but Butler Luke ruthlessly exposed him, saying since he burnt it, he had time to start a brand new batch. Right then, the chime of the elevator echoed through the manor. Winter stepped into the kitchen wearing comfortable slippers. She stood on her tiptoes and rested her chin on Gavin's shoulder, staring at him with an intense, deep gaze. She made no effort to hide the wildness in her eyes. With her acting so crazy, Gavin sucked in a sharp breath, promising he was not running. He explained that her health had been poor, so he made herbal kanji to replenish her vitality. Hearing this, she gently wrapped her arms around his waist. She whispered that next time he made kanji, he should stir so it did not burn. Only then did Gavin realize he had actually scorched it, suggesting he make a fresh pot. No waste. Winter slowly finished the kanji herself. Every movement she made was incredibly elegant, replying with absolute certainty that it tasted delicious. Gavin was highly suspicious, not believing her. He took a bite himself, asking if she was sure. Her eyes locked on his, teasing that he ate what she drank, asking if her good puppy has become proactive. After breakfast, Winter drove her Ferrari to drop Gavin off at school, University. In the hallways, students were buzzing nonstop about a major event. U-City. A few days back, a hypercar had appeared, and rumors said it belonged to an ultra-rich heiress who had spent the last 2 days selling black stockings. Word on the street was they cost $200 a pair. Students complained about men having zero morals, though some admitted they would buy a whole basket of them. Just then, Now walked into the classroom wearing a blue. She wore a stylish sailor dress, her long, slender legs adorned in sheer white stockings. This was paired with black leather boots, making her look incredibly pure and cute. But carrying her backpack, faint dark circles were quite visible under her eyes. She vented to K.H. Lowe about everything that happened over the past few days. K.H. Lowe grumbled unhappily, asking if Gavin really stopped paying attention to her. Nina bit her lip, guessing he might just be in a bad mood lately. That made K.H. Lowe furious, instantly bringing up the time Gavin had insulted her. Other students heard the commotion and rushed over to feast on the gossip. If Nina actually accepted his confession, it would be a total waste of her beauty. Hearing the trash talk, Sammy snapped. He shot back angrily. He demanded to know what was wrong with expressing feelings to someone you like. Sammy called Nina shameless, pointing out how she just stood there and listened. She claimed to treat Gavin as a friend, yet let everyone mock him. Just then, gasps of pure shock erupted from the students outside the classroom. Can you blame them? They were staring at an $8 million supercar. The Lamborghini parked in the lot looked absolutely sick to the students. It made the $1 million BMW next to it look like a cheap minivan. Hearing the chatter, Preston could not help but chime in quite smugly. He asked if they were admiring his BMW, bragging about his dad driving him. He said this deliberately, desperately wanting to show off in front of Nina. Nina just brushed him off, calling his family truly impressive. Her eyes, they remained completely glued to the parking lot. When Preston finally saw that Lamborghini, he was absolutely dumbfounded. At that moment, someone gasped, pointing out a super handsome guy nearby. Sunlight poured down the corridor as a tall, lean figure stepped out. Even in ordinary clothes, his intense aura was completely out of this world. His sharp, heroic features could easily crush any official campus heartthrob. Nina and the others were stunned, realizing they knew this guy. They had seen him at the Golden Lotus Market, and he was their classmate. Gavin casually strolled over to Sammy, asking why he was standing there. He told him to stop acting like a fool and go inside for breakfast. Gavin dragged Sammy into the classroom, pulling a luxurious breakfast from his backpack. He unpacked fine foie gras sushi, pre-shelled king crab, and premium abalone. Sammy's jaw dropped, his eyes practically bulged out of his head. Sammy stammered that Gavin did not need to spend so much on him. Gavin casually replied that it did not cost him a single dime. Nearby female classmates were already starstruck watching the two of them. They wondered if this was what a real wretch guy looked like. Who even eats like this? Even Nina could not resist following them in. Sammy was secretly loving every single second of the attention. He gloated, asking if they still thought Gavin was ugly, demanding some answers. After all, Gavin was the incredibly wealthy owner of a Bugatti. Speaking of luxury cars, Sammy suddenly paused as he chewed his food. He told Gavin that another stunning Lamborghini drove into the school this morning, wondering why there were suddenly so many hypercars around lately. Gavin pulls the sleek Lamborghini keys from his pocket and tosses them over to Sammy. He tells his buddy to take it for a spin and stop cursing his name. Sammy winks and grimaces, pretending to be absolutely furious at the gesture. He calls Gavin a total menace who just cannot stand seeing his brother suffer. But honestly, he just hates seeing his bro roll up in a basic Range Rover. He drives everything except that. Nearby, their classmates are left completely stunned. Nobody understands what is happening. Not only is this new student incredibly handsome, his actual ride is a multi-million-dollar Lamborghini waiting outside. That gorgeous supercar sitting in the lot actually belongs to him. Sammy screams out that Gavin is a total beast, completely losing his mind. Once those earth-shattering words drop, the entire room freezes in pure shock. They stare at him. This insanely handsome guy standing before them is actually Gavin. A few students quickly snap out of it to start sucking up. Having a high-tier connection like this as a classmate is just too good to ignore. Only a fool would pass this up. Meanwhile, Nena feels a sharp pang of regret. Why had he not approached her first? Her best friend Khlo just smiles. Khlo comforts Nena, whispering that he is definitely just playing hard to get. He will surely come begging to her soon. This makes Nena feel much more relaxed. She makes a mental note to quietly dig into his family background later on. Just then, their teacher, Mr. Carter, steps into the noisy classroom. He begins directing group leaders to collect all the summer assignments. Looking at his attendance sheet, he is puzzled why Gavin missed the past weeks. Suddenly, Gavin steps forward to present his summer project directly to the teacher. He hands it over, stating this is the work. Mr. Carter goes completely silent. Asking if this handsome kid even belongs in his class, Mr. Carter stares. He jokes that the boy is almost as good-looking as he was. Gavin just grins. Pointing out the project videos, he hands over the USB drive. Nearby, Preston speaks up maliciously, urging the teacher to play Gavin's submission. He sneers, saying they are all eager to see how he managed alone. Especially after ditching their group, Mr. Carter finally focuses on the computer screen. The very first line leaves him completely stunned, made 80,000 selling black stockings. The project files even contain full video recordings detailing the entire process. Making $80,000 in 1 week selling stockings, talk about unexpected. Preston catches a glimpse of the text, and his brain instantly freezes up. He thinks it is total garbage. How could selling simple stockings be that profitable? But as those words leave his mouth, Preston stiffens. He remembers something. He recently saw someone doing the exact same thing. Gavin looks at him calmly. Explaining the basic steps, Gavin says to first hire a gorgeous maid. Second, give her sales training. Finally, roll out a Bugatti Veyron. Nena's eyes widen. She suddenly remembers his luxury car keys. Could he really be the owner? Preston struggles to process what is happening. He nervously demands they play the video to see if it is real. The moment the footage starts, a heavy silence falls over the entire room. They watch the screen as Gavin steps right out of that majestic supercar. Instantly, the class group chat erupts into absolute chaos. Everyone is speechless. Too shocked to even think straight. Was this that legendary capital VIP aura? Preston felt like his face was being slapped repeatedly. never expecting the humiliation to come so swiftly and brutally. Gavin grinned, saying there was more. Teacher, as they had only watched half of it, the rest showed him doing charity and building his public image. Hearing this, Preston quickly reached over and shut off the video. Was he joking? That explosive video was only half of it. If they kept watching, it would be a total disaster. Furthermore, he had already noticed that Nena had been staring at Gavin almost the entire time. Unexpectedly, Nena stood up and asked the teacher to keep playing. After all, as a good friend, she was deeply invested in his academic progress. Gavin raised an eyebrow. Friends, only then did Nena realize what she had done. Was she too eager? Why would she admit to being Gavin's friend in front of everyone like that? However, in the very next second, Gavin spoke in a lazy, drawling tone. You and I are from two completely different worlds. To me, you are nothing but a ridiculously vain, incredibly mediocre NPC I would never be friends with. Someone like you, triple kill. Nena felt like something was lodged in her throat. She stared in utter disbelief, unable to comprehend that he would actually say something like that. She felt an overwhelming sense of powerlessness right now, because these were the exact words she had said to him countless times. Before the video continued, Gavin spent a full $40,000 buying books and donated them all to that elementary school. The most important part was his speech at the school. Preston was dumbfounded. He did not expect Gavin to have done so much and to have done it with such undeniable class. Mr. Carter could not help but start clapping. Good, good, good. This was truly the first time I have seen a student like this. Gavin, you actually have a shot at first prize. Nena was even more devastated, never imagining the boy she rejected could be this outstanding. She could not help but carefully observe him. The young man before her now carried himself with imposing dignity. Every gesture exuded a confident, natural grace, completely devoid of the groveling servitude from the past. For some reason, Nena suddenly felt a bit wronged. Did he not say he would always like her? Why did he say such harsh things to her just now? At Rose Manor, Gavin was sitting in his room scrolling on his phone. Right then, Nena called. Gavin decisively hung up. Unable to get through on the phone, she simply resorted to texting. Can you please stop playing hard to get with me? As long as you pass my test, I might consider being with you. Are you really sure you want to miss out on me? You will have a very hard time finding a girlfriend better than me. Gavin decisively typed back. Go find a mirror and take a good look at yourself. If you do not have one, just pee in a puddle and look at your reflection. Gavin then decisively blocked Nena's number, just to avoid this crazy girl having another episode and Winter seeing it. Right at that moment, Winter pushed the door open and walked in. Her eyes were filled with exhaustion and she looked so weak she could barely stand. The corners of her eyes were tinged with red, and her cold, clear voice carried a hint of grievance. Gavin, I hurt, I want a hug. The last two words were so soft, the ending syllables almost inaudible. The Winter standing before him leaned weakly. She leaned heavily against the door frame, wearing a light brown trench coat over white blouse and black wide-leg pants, balanced on a pair of 10-centimeter high heels. Her peerlessly beautiful face was now completely devoid of color, pale to the point of looking sickly. Gavin rushed over immediately and caught Winter in his arms. Only then did he realize her body temperature was terrifyingly high, and she smelled faintly of alcohol. Gavin asked what happened, while Assistant Quinn saw this scene and his jaw practically hit the floor. Just a few minutes ago, boss. Winter was acting perfectly fine, striding in those 10-centimeter killer heels, like she was walking on flat ground, all the way up to the outside of the sun room. He wondered what kind of act she was pulling, or if she was actually sick, worried that her sudden illness might be something incredibly serious. He couldn't help but ask if she was just fine. Before he could finish his sentence, the seemingly harmless Winter, resting in Gavin's arms, shot him a fierce, lethal glare. Quinn instantly accepted his fate. Boss Winter's business dinner today was at a seaside restaurant, but the wind was too strong. She must have caught a cold, so Quinn told Gavin to take good care of her while he brewed medicine for the boss. Gavin laid Winter down on the sofa, asking if she had a fever or a headache. Just then, Quinn came over with the freshly brewed cold medicine, offering it to Boss Winter, but she turned her head away. She flatly refused to drink it, questioning if it was poisoned. Seeing this, Gavin took the cup from Quinn. Gavin offered to feed her. Quinn clicked his tongue, saying Gavin had only been here for how long, yet after 10 years of service, she still did not trust him. But the moment Winter heard Gavin, she shifted her body and turned around to drink. Talk about absolute blind trust. Even Gavin was completely stunned by this. Flash of a sickly, flirtatious smile passed through Winter's seemingly innocent, drunken eyes as she murmured that if he wanted her dead, she would willingly obey. Gavin picked Winter up in his arms, suggesting they go back to her room so she could sleep. Winter leaned into his embrace, her voice growing even softer, asking him to stay, in a rare breaking of protocol. Gavin actively stayed with Winter for the entire night. The next morning in the classroom, Na pulled a lunchbox out of her backpack. Then she walked over to Gavin's desk, mentioning how he used to bring her breakfast, so today she personally made breakfast just for him. Saying that, she opened the lunchbox and placed it on his desk, hoping he would like it and asking if they were still good friends. As soon as the words left her mouth, the classroom completely erupted. The school beauty actually took the initiative to make breakfast for him. Gavin glanced at Na, stating he did not want it, and shoved the lunchbox back in front of her, asking if she would eat it. Na shook her head since she had carefully prepared this for him. Consequently, Gavin turned around and dumped the entire lunchbox, breakfast and all, straight into the trash can, muttering that even a dog would not eat it. She widened her eyes drastically, asking if he just called her a dog. Gavin smiled slightly, telling her that whoever fits the description can claim it, asking what she was barking about anyway. Everyone took a collective sharp breath, wondering if Gavin was crazy or just stupid. This was breakfast made personally by the school beauty. Not only did he throw it in the trash, he even called Na a dog, leaving her utterly. She's completely dumbfounded, asking why he's treating her like this. Isn't she pretty enough? Was she not good enough? Why? Just because she rejected his confession once? Does he really have to act like this? Surely he's just trying to make her mad. He's just trying to get a reaction, Nena asks, her eyes turning red. Suddenly, an aura of extreme, bone-chilling cold sweeps over her entire body. Nena instantly feels the source of this terrifying freezing air coming from behind. Turning around, she meets a pair of icy eyes that seem straight from hell. A breathtakingly beautiful woman is standing right there in the school hallway. She is draped in an exquisitely tailored suit, standing just outside the classroom. Those impossibly beautiful eyes stare down at Nena as if she is a corpse. Nena has never felt such an overwhelming aura, making her legs go weak. In this terrifying moment, a specific term from TV dramas flashes through her mind. Spiritual pressure, she thinks, as her legs completely give out beneath her. She collapses weakly onto a chair as the principal continues leading the way. Seeing Director Winter suddenly stop, the principal cautiously asks what is wrong. Winter pulls her gaze back, calmly remarking that the school standards are lacking. She gives Nena a heavy, meaningful look before turning to walk away. She resumes her brisk walk, leaving the principal to flag Nena's existence. He will definitely look into this student's background to see if she broke rules. If she did, she'll face immediate discipline, expelled even. He will expel her directly. Nena gasps for air, completely unable to believe it. Talk about terrible timing. She faces expulsion just as she tries to change. What a terrifying woman. Right then, the class monitor, Preston, approaches Gavin. The teacher wants him in the principal's office, leaving Gavin a bit confused. He figures this sudden summons definitely has something to do with Winter. The jealous demon queen's temper has clearly flared up as he heads over. Arriving at the door, he he vaguely hears the sound of a piano playing inside. Inside the dimly lit room, a single beam of light pierces the heavy curtains. Winter sits at the piano, wearing a stunning, snow-white outfit in the shadows. Her side profile is so flawless she looks like a goddess, making him gasp. He closes the office door behind him, captivated by her pure beauty. Even knowing she's a disguised demoness, he can't stop his heart from racing. He walks closer, reminding her that he knows she likes praise to the Tess River. He offers to play it so she won't be mad, his fingers beginning to dance. They dance nimbly across the keys as Winter lifts her eyes to look at him. An unfathomable light flashes in her eyes, and soon her own fingers join in. They play the melody together in a beautiful four-handed duet, like a dream. Yet their playing styles are distinctly different from one another. Winter's touch is decisive and lethal, while Gavin's is uplifting and passionate. As the song ends, Gavin stands up and quickly tries to explain himself. After drinking the congee she made, how could he possibly stomach anyone else's food? But before he can even finish, Winter's kisses rain down overwhelmingly on him. Devouring him completely, she tells him to forget about Nena. She demands he sink into oblivion with her. Soon, the opening ceremony begins. Arriving just in time, Sammy anxiously asks if Gavin is all right. Sammy looked completely terrified, and honestly, who could blame him? That was when he finally opened up. He explained that Nena was already packing her bags, getting ready to leave. She had been suspended from school for a whole week, and rumors were already flying. Some said she made a massive mistake, but it was likely because of the director, Winter. Gavin could not believe it. She just made him breakfast, and now she was suspended. She had to stay home to reflect. Winter was just way too possessive. How did she ever let Gavin marry Nena in his past life? Right then, Preston was helping Nena pack her things, trying his best to comfort her, and saying everything was fine. He looked determined. It had to be that school director who had some personal issue with her. He promised to demand justice for her the second he went on stage to get his award. Nena panicked because she knew the real reason she was punished. It was because the administration found out she was secretly getting close with multiple male students, and now Preston wants to defend her. Is he completely crazy? Did he want to ruin her reputation even faster? She glared at him. She warned him that if he dared to confront the director, they were completely done. She would never speak to him again. Watching her walk away, Preston felt incredibly bitter. If he could not even protect the woman he loved, what was the point? He refused to be a coward. He did not care if she was the powerful school director. Everyone else might be terrified of her, but he certainly was not. The ceremony dragged on, utterly boring, until the principal finally announced the next speaker. Director Winter was called up to give her speech. A stunning, elegant figure walked gracefully toward the podium. Winter wore a beautiful, form-fitting white kippah. Her posture was dignified, and her walk was incredibly graceful. She was in a surprisingly good mood today. Her usual terrifying, heavy aura had vanished completely. Right now, she looked like nothing more than a sophisticated, slightly aloof intellectual, and soon it was time for the awards. It was Preston's turn. He muttered to himself, promising to get justice for Nena. The moment he stepped up, he believed nobody had the right to bully her. With a fierce glare directed at Winter, he started making his way up. But as he neared the stage, his legs suddenly felt incredibly heavy. Approaching Winter made his entire soul shake. Her overwhelming presence was just too much. He could barely breathe. Still, Preston forced himself forward. He struggled to stand directly in front of Winter, but she ignored him completely. She announced the third prize for Preston's computer science group. The principal handed over the prize money and the certificate to a shaking Preston. Preston gripped the paper tightly, his mind racing. He was battling intense fear, trying to find his courage. He should not be this terrified. He had to speak up for his classmate. Winter raised an eyebrow, coldly asking if there was some sort of issue. A chilling, dangerous look flashed in her eyes. Her tone was completely emotionless. The sheer pressure radiating from her completely crushed Preston's resolve. He choked on his words, unable to make a single sound for a while. Winter casually looked away and proceeded to call out the next winner. It was the name she actually cared about, Gavin from computer science. He won first prize. The moment Gavin walked up, the entire crowd gasped in shock. Everyone is in awe. He is so handsome his legs look longer than anyone's lifespan. The school heartthrob looks like complete trash standing next to him. The students off stage go completely wild. Winter personally hands the certificate and prize money straight into his hands. Her aura shifts right along with it. When their hands touch, she lingeringly strokes his palm with her fingertips. He looks up and meets Winter's eyes, overflowing with affection. He leaves amidst the shocked and highly envious gazes of the crowd. Everyone is completely stunned. The icy fairy sister actually smiled. Director Winter is a total sucker for good looks, but then again, that boy was indeed incredibly handsome. That scene alone causes a massive sensation across the entire Yi University. People are already gossiping about it in the hallways, calling him Gav. Sammy excitedly pats his shoulder, asking if he was seeing things just now. The ice beauty actually smiled at you. Do you two know each other? How did you two even end up talking? He just smiles and says, what kind of relationship could we possibly have? Just a deeply intimate one. Sammy freezes. Deeply intimate. His mind completely breaks. About to completely explode. After today's classes end, he is rushing home when he suddenly bumps right into Nena. The girl is wearing a flowing water blue dress. Her black hair cascades loosely down her waist. Seeing him, she quickens her pace and walks over. You are here too. Suddenly, she catches sight of the milk tea ingredients he bought, remembering her previous demand that he buy her milk tea for a month. Nena's eyes light up immediately, and here she thought he really did not want her anymore. He looks at her, utterly confused. Did you not do what I told you to do? If you do not have a mirror, you must have some pee, right? What makes you think you can even catch my eye? Nena almost has a heart attack. Why do you always have to treat me like this? Nena just cannot understand. Did I not just reject your confession once? Even if we cannot be lovers, we could still be friends. Chloe also walks over and sees the scene. She instantly blows a gasket. Do you even know who you are raising your voice at? She is Nena, the campus belle and the person you have liked for years. Sammy gets furious hearing this too. He is just about to step forward and spit fire back. Sammy, no need. If you run into a mad dog on the street and it bites you, do you bite back? He raises an eyebrow and claps his hands. Bodyguards, Boss Winter assigned you to protect my safety, right? What should you do if a mad dog keeps barking at me? The three bodyguards following behind them say in unison, beat them up. Subsequently, the three bodyguards walk up to Chloe. They hold iron batons in their hands and wear unfriendly expressions. Seeing this, Sammy's face splits into a massive grin. Haha, you guys are finally getting what is coming to you. I am dying of laughter. Keep barking. Come on, keep barking. Chloe and Nena can only stare helplessly. They are genuinely terrified by the aura of the three bodyguards in front of them. In the end, the two can only watch helplessly as they leave. Nena looks in the direction he left, her eyes red with grievance. Tears cannot stop falling. She admits that she is truly heartbroken right now. Once, she was the person he held closest. Close to his heart. No matter what she wanted, he would get it for her immediately. Even a month ago, when she was caught in a rainstorm at a cafe, he was the one who brought an umbrella to walk her home. Did she reject him once? If he truly wanted to be with her, why did a single rejection matter after 99 confessions? Nat collapsed weakly onto the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. Meanwhile, Winter was busy until 4 a.m. today before finally returning home, draped in a sleek, long black trench coat. Seeing him sleeping soundly on the lobby sofa, she froze. Her gaze continuously roamed over his body as he slept. She gently bent down and sat on the floor, this usually domineering and formidable woman now looked more like a severely wounded baby animal who just wanted a moment to catch its breath. 10 minutes later, she opened her cold, gloomy eyes. Winter stood up and walked into the bathroom, wondering if he still wanted to leave her, making money and transferring the bodyguards away. These were all part of his plan. She would give him whatever he wanted, even her own life. She had really wanted to claim him completely right then and there, but ultimately she chose to harm herself, forcefully suppressing those violent, crazy thoughts. How could she ever bear to hurt him even the slightest bit? Winter lay on the blood-stained floor, tears of blood sliding down her cheeks. Since he refused to love her, he would hate her forever. That weekend, the young man had two particularly important things to do. First, he wanted to open a milk tea shop near the school, so he started experimenting with milk tea samples. He needed to develop at least 10 recipes to start, calculating that he still had over 100 grand left in his pockets. He recalled those dark red roses and eventually settled on the rare black picara variety, spending $50,000 to order 500 rose saplings. Before long, the merchant delivered the goods, and he ran to the kitchen, preparing to make a classic cup of mango pomelo sago. First, he would let Winter taste it later. Since she had a great figure, she probably paid close attention to maintaining it, so using sugar substitutes would minimize the calories as much as possible. Unfortunately, not only did he fail to make the mango pomelo sago, he also accidentally sliced his hand twice with the knife. But the thought of her expression when she drank it made him look forward to it all over again. Swish, Winter swung the meow dow with an expressionless face, cleanly and efficiently killing the man in front of her. She noted that the methods of her worthless nephew, Wyatt, were becoming increasingly amateurish. Standing in a pool of blood, she looked like a demon king, crawling straight out of hell, holding a meow dow that was 1.6 meters long. Wearing black casual clothes, Butler Luke was completely unfazed by this scene. She ordered him to clean the place up. After the crowd dispersed, Butler Luke bowed respectfully to Winter and asked why she had let the assassins Wyatt planted in Ye City strike today when she discovered them long ago. Usually, dealing with assassins like this was a job she would delegate to others. Winter merely leaned lazily against the corner of the wall and closed her eyes. Half an hour later, Winter opened them with a calm face and stood up, telling old Luke to inform the school that starting tomorrow he would not need to go to university anymore. Suddenly, the phone rang. She glanced down at the caller ID and answered it expressionlessly. The caller pleaded with Winter to come back home right now, begging her to return. Hearing how much he missed her, the deadly glare in her eyes began to soften. She asked if he really missed her, and he fondly agreed. He told her his Winter was incredibly beautiful, gentle, and treated him so well. So naturally, any free moment he had, he thought of her. Winter's hand began to tremble on the phone, a flicker of disbelief washing over her eyes. She gave a quiet hum of agreement, outwardly calm, yet the dark, violent energy that had surrounded her vanished, gone without a single trace. It was only 10 minutes later that she stepped out of her car, completely frozen. The entire manor was now covered with massive fields of vibrant red roses. From afar, the estate looked like a fiery sea of blooming red flowers. Holding a fresh cup of milk tea, he ran over, happily welcoming her back home. He offered her the fresh mango pomelo sago he made, bringing up the roses. He replaced all the bushes he ruined, knowing he owed her far too much. This minor gift was not nearly enough, so he promised her anything she wanted. He just wanted her to be happy, telling her she only had to ask for what she wanted. He babbled on, no response. The cold woman before him showed nothing. He swallowed nervously, quietly asking if there was really nothing she desired. Suddenly, Winter pulled him close, a crushingly tight embrace. She wanted him. She wanted him. Her tone was absolute, like a believer before God. To her, he was the chosen one, her one and only faith and absolute truth. The sweet mango pomelo sago in his hand wobbled, nearly spilling everywhere. Though startled at first, feeling her warm, delicate body made him relax. His heart settled, slowly. He freed one hand to stroke her head. He whispered comforting words. He would never leave her in this lifetime. He was not going anywhere else, his gentle voice acting like a soothing lullaby to heal her battered heart. She slowly let go of him. Only then did she notice his wounds. "You are hurt," she whispered, worried. He was still trying to pitch his mango pomelo sago, asking her to take a sip. Instead, she firmly grabbed his hand and started leading him toward the manor. She insisted on bandaging his wounds first before they did anything else. Treating wounds was new to her. She stiffly brought out the kit. Taking a long time to find the iodine. She cleaned his cuts clumsily, earnestly. Her touch was incredibly soft. She even blew on them gently, holding his hands like absolute treasures. As she worked, he suddenly spotted something that made his heart ache deeply. He immediately spotted a series of painful knife scars covering Winter's hands. Asking about the marks, he quickly crouched down to treat her hands instead. Finished, he wrapped her hands, but felt her burning gaze on him. He looked up, meeting her deep, dark eyes filled with hidden emotion. Winter looked away, blushing. She agreed to try his milk tea. He happily stood up to fetch the sweet mango pomelo sago drink. He explained it was a special mix of fresh mango and coconut milk. Winter raises the cup of mango pomelo sago and takes a taste. Just one sip blows her away completely. Gavin watches her reaction expectantly, asking if she actually likes it. By then, Winter has already finished the entire cup of mango pomelo. She asks if there is any more, sending Gavin rushing to the fridge to get another portion. Watching this unfold, Quinn is completely shocked. He suddenly feels that old butler Luke was actually right. Meanwhile, butler Luke has a look of absolute delight on his face as he speaks up. He praises Gavin for making such incredible milk tea, asking if he could try a taste too. Soon enough, both butler Luke and Winter end up giving the exact same high review. They agree that if Gavin sets up a stall with this drink, it will absolutely sell like crazy. Quinn finds it totally normal for Boss Winter to be highly supportive of her favorite person. But why is old Luke acting like a massive hype man too? Quinn cannot help but wonder. He takes a sneaky sip of the mango pomelo sago, straight from old Luke's hand. Immediately, he praises Gavin because this sweet treat is absolutely delicious. Listening to butler Luke, Winter finally understands what has actually been going on. Setting up a market stall was the real reason Gavin wanted to deploy her bodyguards. Butler Luke slaps his forehead, apologizing to Boss Winter for the entire misunderstanding. He explains he was simply too busy that day to make things clear to her. Gavin is actually setting up over 20 stalls, which is why he needs so many guards. Winter falls silent, lowering her head in genuine guilt to offer an apology. She promises to compensate him, leaving everyone present completely stunned. A sincere apology coming from the lips of the arrogant and aloof boss, Winter. Even Gavin is left totally speechless, wondering if she has somehow been possessed. This is a heavy promise from the powerful CEO of the Manhwa Group. Gavin jokingly says he needs to think about how she should pay him back, making her hum softly. All her sharp edges melt away as Gavin promises to change. He wants to learn fast. He vows to master food pairing and finally stop burning every pot. Every single morning, he plans to brew her healthy herbal congee. Asking her to be good and drink it, Winter just looks at him in confusion. She offers him wealth, cars, and houses, but Gavin gently declines her massive offer. He simply wishes to grow strong enough to proudly stand right by her side. Left completely speechless, tears begin to well up in her beautiful, dark eyes. She promises to wait. You see, this obsessive CEO used to be extremely extreme. To stop Gavin from marrying another woman, she literally locked him away for over 2 years. Later, a dark conspiracy between his best friend and ex ended his life. They literally laughed at his funeral while plotting to spend his wealth. But Winter sacrificed everything to hunt them down. She got his justice, murmuring softly as she stared at his lifeless face. She wondered why he could not just stay by her side when he was all she wanted. But when Gavin opened his eyes again, he realized he had been reborn in the past. He woke up right inside Winter's massive rose manor, getting a second chance. By the next afternoon, he wonders if Winter has actually eaten lunch yet. He asks butler Luke what kind of food the beautiful CEO usually prefers. He plans to pick her up directly from work and surprise her with a special dinner. Looking back on his past actions, Gavin cannot help but feel like an absolute jerk. In his past life, Gavin was so angry after Winter forced herself on him that he did not even notice it was her first time, and even now he had no idea what Winter liked to eat. Apparently, Boss Winter really preferred vegetarian dishes. Butler Luke sighed, explaining she had always been resistant to eating meat, but eating only vegetarian was bad for her health. If Gavin was the one cooking, she would happily eat. Later, at the city's Shanghua group, Butler Luke led the way, taking Gavin straight to the top floor. He walked to the conference room door. Looking through the glass, he saw Winter, dressed sharply in a suit, sitting in the head seat. It was hard to imagine this domineering CEO was the same Winter who whined for his hugs. Winter's other assistant, Wang Xuan, pushed the door open and stepped out. She looked surprised to see him. "Sir, if you want to see Boss Winter, you will have to wait a while." Just then, Quinn rushed out. He glared at Wang Xuan, calling her a fool for stopping Gavin. "From now on, whenever he comes, you cannot stop him from going anywhere." Gavin shook his head, choosing to wait outside to let her finish her meeting in peace. He did not want to disrupt her work progress. In his past life, even when his own company succeeded, he never allowed Nas special privileges at his company. He always feared gossip and potential management issues. And since Winter was a woman, he wanted to be even more considerate. Because he decided to treat her well, he had to think of her feelings. "That works too," Quinn replied with an incredibly complex expression. Finally, he smiled helplessly, saying he understood why Luke praised Gavin so highly. He urged Gavin to keep treating her well, as she had been unhappy. It was already 8 o'clock. Gavin was getting quite worried about Winter. Any later and all nearby restaurants would close. He decided to get takeout. Asking Luke for the car keys, he said he needed the umbrella. He promised to be right back. Just at that moment, Winter walked outside, searching around for him. When she did not see Gavin, a flash of disappointment crossed her eyes. It is honestly pretty heartbreaking to see. She instantly transformed from a ruthless CEO into a pitiful, abandoned kitten. She asked where Gavin was. Only then did Luke step forward to explain. He told her Gavin was worried she would go hungry, so he left. Hearing this, a storm of conflicting emotions flashed through Winter's eyes. Instinctively, just like in the past, she feared this was another trick. Perhaps he was running away. Quinn walked up to Winter, sensing her worry. He asked if she wanted him to send people to bring Gavin back. "No," Winter said. Her eyes were firm yet gentle as she refused. She trusted him. Right then, the office door was pushed open. Gavin walked back in holding an insulated bag, announcing he was back. He joked about returning from hunting, using a popular internet meme. He praised her hard work, pulling food containers out one by one. Luke had mentioned her dislike for meat, but she still needed protein. Without it, her body would fail, so he bought her seafood instead. Gavin promised to seriously memorize all her dietary preferences. He promises to learn her preferences and take better care of her. Hearing this, Winter falls completely silent. She cannot resist reaching out to touch his face. Her movements are incredibly gentle and tentative, as if she is absolutely terrified of popping the dream bubble she had yearned for day and night. "Gavin, you don't have to try and please me. Whatever you want, I will give it to you." he pats Winter's head and picks out the most beautiful piece of abalone from the lunchbox. I am not trying to please you, I want to take care of you, Winter, he recently realized. Something she actually has her own vulnerable moments too, and she needs someone to care for and look after her just as much, even if she had absolutely nothing. I would still treat you just as well, do you know that? He says she has incredible charisma. After saying that, he brings the abalone right to Winter's lips. Be a good girl and open up. This is the first time Winter has ever been taken care of like a child. How many years has it been? She can finally hear the sound of her own heartbeat again, a sweet proof that she is still alive. I do not want to eat abalone, I want something else, she says. A dark glint flashes in Winter's eyes, as if she is desperately trying to suppress something. Gavin smiles, asking why it feels like little Winter is getting better and better at acting spoiled. A picky eater, huh? So what do you want to eat? As soon as those words leave his mouth, the beautiful Winter suddenly lines her upper body forward, biting his earlobe before exhaling a single word. Dripping with temptation, I am so hot. Meanwhile, Na is lugging delivery boxes. Struggling down the path back to the dorms, her eyes are brimming with tears, looking completely miserable. Having lost Gavin's care, she finally realizes wearing a dress and tying shoelaces is incredibly inconvenient. She finally realizes that the dozens of packages she impulsively bought online can be insanely heavy when piled together. In the past, Gavin was always there to carry everything for her, but how could someone so sweet suddenly change like this? Just thinking about it makes Na cry uncontrollably. Nearby, Preston hurriedly offers comfort. Na, do not cry, I will help you carry your things. Chloe also instinctively tries to boss Preston around, asking him to carry her bag as well. Preston furrows his brow, demanding why he should. She replies because she is Na's best friend and besties are crucial in a relationship. Preston cannot help but sigh. How did Gavin endure this day in and day out for 3 years? Did he never feel tired at all? On the way to school, Sammy and Gavin are chatting in the car when they happen to spot the pathetic trio outside. Gavin immediately averts his gaze, wondering why there is trash out there. Butler Luke, who is driving, cannot hold back his laughter, glad that the young man has finally seen the light. He cannot resist asking who those people are. Sammy curls his lip. They used to take advantage of Gavin's kindness, bossing him around like they were all high and mighty. Gavin was totally blind back then. Hearing this, Butler Luke lets out a long O, and then accidentally shifts into reverse and accidentally raises the Rolls-Royce's Spirit of Ecstasy hood ornament. It glides right alongside the walking trio, maintaining their exact same slow pace. Even Gavin is stunned for a second by the hilarious move. The usually steady Butler Luke pulled a surprising stunt, humming. He hummed smugly, suggesting they simply admire the nice scenery around them. Gavin could not help but grin, realizing Butler Luke was a major troll. He never noticed this side of him before. Meanwhile, Chloe and Nenna walked together, eyeing the luxury car with deep envy before realizing something felt completely off. Preston noticed it first. Every time he sped up, the luxury car did too. When he slowed down, the car matched his pace, leaving him completely baffled. He turned around and locked eyes directly with Sammy, who was mocking him. Sammy called out, "Hey class monitor, why didn't your dad drive you to school in his BMW on such a hot day, instead of volunteering to be a pack mule?" Asking if it was exhausting, Gavin laughed, knowing Sammy was the ultimate troll. Sammy loved kicking people when they were down. Preston was about to explode. Just wait, because things are about to get even worse for poor Preston. Butler Luke slammed on the gas, leaving Preston to eat a face full of exhaust fumes. Talk about sheer arrogance. A furious Chloe grumbled about their attitude. She complained loudly, turning to Preston and asking why his dad did not drive them to school. Preston nearly had a massive heart attack right there. Their family BMW was registered under his old man's name. making it highly inconvenient to use, but he knew Gavin's Lamborghini was different. That luxury car was registered directly under Gavin's name. Soon, Sammy and Gavin arrived at the milk tea shop, where the business was clearly booming. School had been out only briefly, but a massive line had already formed. Chloe waited anxiously in line, complaining about why it was not her turn yet. Her absolute favorite grape, boba fruit tea, cost a whole $15 a cup. But she was more than happy to pay. Still, the sweltering heat bred plenty of resentment. Suddenly, Gavin swaggered right past the entire queue and walked straight up to the stall, causing immediate annoyance among the waiting students. Preston could not hold back, shouting at Gavin to get in line. If he wanted to buy milk tea for Nena, he had better get in line like everyone else instead of cutting. Nena froze in place, clearly not expecting him to come buy her milk tea. Gavin shot him a glance, asking why he would ever buy milk tea for her. Only a simp like Preston would do that, telling him to stop acting pathetic. Gavin ignored them both, addressing the vendor, Granny Wang, and mentioning Butler. Luke was busy, so he was there to collect the day's cash. Granny Wang pulled the cash from her pocket, handing it over with trembling hands. The crowd was utterly dumbfounded, wondering if he was there to collect protection money. How could he steal from an old lady who worked so hard? Preston immediately grew furious, demanding to know how Gavin could bully an old lady. Nena was equally shocked, saying what he did was wrong. As everyone pointed fingers at Gavin, Granny Wang suddenly shouted at the top of her lungs, explaining that Gavin was actually her boss, and they misunderstood. The word boss hit everyone like a ton of bricks. Gavin, on the other hand, calmly counted the cash in his hand, pulling out several red $100 bills and placing them in Granny Wang's hand, noting how hard it was working in this heat. He promised to bring her an electric fan tomorrow, making the old lady smile. With gratitude, thanking his new boss. Instantly, the way everyone looked at him changed. Chloe stood frozen. Did she hear right? This was the same guy who used to revolve entirely around Nena. How did he get so smart? First, he used human nature to sell those overpriced black stockings, and now had others running stalls for him, in stark contrast to everyone else's shock. Preston and Na were in a completely different headspace. They felt totally played. Like absolute fools, Preston had been tricked by him into buying that overpriced cup milk tea. Meanwhile, Na had been giving him free advertising for the past few days, making the milk tea shop business explode, which meant he was raking in even more cash. Realizing this, Nena completely blew her top. She wanted nothing more than to march right over and demand an endorsement fee from him. Right now, Na stared desperately at his retreating back, crying out that he liked her and simply could not let her go, tears bursting forth as she sniffled. Preston had just returned with the expensive milk tea he had bought. Hearing those words, he collapsed straight to the ground. He remembered giving Winter oysters. She had really liked them. As night fell, he brought a bowl of freshly cooked congee to her. He asked if little Winter could manage an extra bowl of the hot seafood congee. Winter spaced out for a second, then looked up, asking why he called her that. He said it was because she was cute, with an inner world like a little kid. He coughed awkwardly. He had clearly overstepped. Sure enough, familiarity breeds boldness, and he was getting way too gutsy. Winter casually replied that if he wanted to show how close they were, he could call her Bo, a precious bag. That was the nickname her mother gave her. He was surprised, wondering why her mother would give her that nickname. It meant bow, like a handbag, as she stirred her congee with a spoon. Her mother said that once she grew up, she would be traded for designer bags. That was how she got the nickname Bo. He was shocked by the answer, jokingly asking if she was ever successfully traded for those bags. She calmly said no, her expression completely indifferent when she mentioned this, as if she were talking about a total stranger. She explained she got very sick at age 5, and for medical bills, her mother worked 3 jobs at once. She pushed through for over half a year before tragically dying from overwork. Hearing this, he was completely dumbfounded. He recalled that when Winter was 8, she returned as a lost princess. Of a massive financial conglomerate, everyone congratulated the old patriarch on having a child so late, assuming she would be an incredibly pampered princess, and that did indeed turn out to be the reality. He softly offered to visit her mother's grave with her if she ever wanted. He honestly could not think of any better way to comfort her. Winter shook her head, explaining her mother was an orphan and there was no grave. Since they had no money back then, a painful memory flashed in her mind. On a storming day, she had knelt in the courtyard of the Wen family's quadrangle in the imperial capital, refusing to stand. She kowtowed until the blood on the ground mixed with the rainwater, with absolutely nobody around. Only the echoes of mockery remained. She forgot what she even said that day, only remembering that the rain was cold and her head ached. Now, Winter stood right in front of Gavin, silent. She tightly gripped the ceramic spoon in her hand. Her eyes grew incredibly dark and deep. Butler Luke sucked in a sharp breath. He urged Gavin to leave quickly, explaining that no one could talk boss Winter down in this state. They just had to wait for her to calm down on her own. Something was terribly wrong. Quinn also realized how dangerous this situation was. Gavin had touched on Boss Winter's taboo. If this continued, she would hurt herself again. Gavin felt a tight, suffocating squeeze in his chest. Something, honestly, since when did his feelings toward this untouchable demon queen even change? He felt genuine heartache rather than fear. He softly asked if she still remembered him. Winter stayed seated, but the dark aura swirling around her was terrifying. She looked like a cruel demon ruler fresh from the depths of hell. He softly called out her name once more. Winter finally raised her head, her eyes, freezing like a venomous snake, stared right through him. "Come here," she commanded in two completely emotionless words. He took a deep breath, apologized, and slowly walked over to her side. He promised never to mention her mother again, pledging to protect and care for her. Every word he spoke acted like a rare beam of light offering salvation. Right then, Winter felt completely trapped in a pitch-black room of her own mind. Dark, unforgettable memories from her past suddenly came rushing back, just as the agonizing scenes threatened to completely drown her. She saw Gavin standing right there. His clear, gentle eyes were like the warm sun, instantly melting away the freezing darkness around her. Finally, Winter lost all control, desperately reaching out for a lifeline. Before Gavin could even react, Winter suddenly threw her arms around him. Hugging him with terrifying strength, he felt like he was being squeezed by a giant serpent, making it hard to breathe. He gently called her name. He raised his hand. Winter instinctively flinched, expecting to be hit. But instead, his hand landed gently on her head, stroking her hair. Offering a gentle, soothing touch. "Do not be afraid," he whispered. "I will stay by your side forever, Winter. None of this is your fault. You were only 5 years old back then. Be kinder to yourself. I will not leave you." Those gentle, quiet words slowly melted the thick ice around Winter's heart. Soon, the elegant and noble princess Gavin remembered returned. She looked up at him blankly, a wave of deep guilt and fear hitting her. "Bastard," she snapped. "What makes you think I am scared? I do not need your pity." She seemed covered in invisible bruises, yet forced herself to bare her fangs. She was like a defensive, angry kitten. It was her only way to protect herself. "It is not pity," Gavin murmured. Stealing his resolve, he leaned in to kiss her. "Winter, I care about you," he said. Those simple words held magic. They instantly calmed the frantic girl down, letting peace settle over her. A few moments later, the proud, majestic woman he knew returned. Winter looked up at Gavin, her tone perfectly flat as she told him she had something to say. She took a deep breath, a flicker of heavy struggle passing through her eyes. "They are absolutely forbidden from speaking of this." Gavin could not help but laugh as Quinn and Butler Luke finally arrived. They brought bodyguards along, fully convinced on the way that Gavin was doomed. Quinn anxiously asked if Gavin was all right while peering into the quiet room. But the scene inside left him completely stunned. Not only was Gavin perfectly fine, he was laughing his head off, and Boss Winter seemed totally calm. Butler Luke calmly pushed Quinn's head down, telling him they should just leave. There was no point in playing the third wheel. Over the following days, Gavin lived an incredibly carefree life, especially with the milk tea business booming. Having pulled in $2 million, it was time to buy that rundown local apartment. Sammy held his cup with pure bliss, praising how incredibly good the drink was. Right at that moment, Nina stared in Gavin's direction, making a final choice. She suddenly realized that her pride as the campus beauty meant absolutely nothing. Her so-called dignity and status were completely worthless in the face of reality. So she made a choice, cast her pride aside and go after him. It was time to confess. She would make her move right now. Nina confidently walked up to Gavin, mentioning she had some spare cash on her lately. She wanted to treat her friends to a meal and warmly invited him along. Preston, standing at the back of the crowd, let out a heavy sigh. His once adoring eyes now looked completely numb as he watched her. But Gavin could not be bothered with Nina and simply turned to leave. Seeing him walk away, Nina stood there utterly dumbfounded by his coldness. She had lowered herself so much, even preparing to confess in front of everyone. She assumed he was still hung up on her, but oh, how times have changed. Seeing her so upset, Preston rushed to her side, time to comfort her. He offered to treat everyone to a meal instead, boasting about his family's massive wealth. Then he pulled Nina into a hug, making her cry even harder. She warned him not to tell Gavin, fearing it would cause a misunderstanding. Preston could not wrap his head around why she cared so much. After all, he was going to inherit his father's successful business. He begged her for dinner. She reluctantly agreed with a tiny nod. She chose tomorrow night, demanding they go to the expensive Chung Llama hot pot. Preston happily agreed, completely unaware of what else was being planned at that very spot. Meanwhile, the voice of the apartment owner echoed through Gavin's phone. He felt a slight pinch in his wallet, since the hot pot place was notoriously expensive. Gavin remembered eating there in his past life, where a simple meal cost a fortune. But it was worth it since the owner had 2 prime properties to sell. With that sorted out, Gavin quickly booked a table at the restaurant. The next evening, Preston arrived outside the busy hot pot restaurant. Stepping out of his car, he was amazed by how high-end the venue looked. He felt proud of Nina's luxurious taste as he walked toward the entrance. Tonight was his chance to confess and finally make her his girlfriend. Soon, their computer science classmates began arriving at the venue one by one. When Nina finally showed up, Preston eagerly stepped forward to greet her. He reached out his hand, basking in the loud praise of the surrounding crowd. Nina finally haughtily extends her hand, allowing him to hold it. Preston is instantly overjoyed, leading the group of classmates inside the hot pot restaurant. He watches as his goddess looks at him with total admiration. He truly feels like he has finally reached the absolute peak of his entire life. Order whatever you want today, guys, because it is my treat. Preston does not even bother checking the prices before pulling out his card to swipe. He realizes this place is high class and the VIP guests look incredibly wealthy. But wait, something is wrong. Preston cannot help but frown at this sight. Is this really just a massive coincidence inside one of the private rooms? Gavin is dressed sharply in a suit, currently shaking hands with the owner. He tells Mr. Wang it is a pleasure doing business with him. He adds that these properties definitely have room to appreciate in value. Mr. Wang is in a great mood as they smoothly sign the contract. For a moment, all the classmates freeze in shock, and Nina is dumbfounded. She immediately drops Preston's hand, feeling her heart suddenly come alive again. Her heart pounds wildly looking at Gavin, who is confident, mature, and generous. This is her true Mr. Right, and she urgently wants to confess to him. Preston stares blankly, realizing his big moment is falling apart. Wasn't today supposed to be his highlight? He quickly reaches for her hand. He begs Nena not to do this to him, but she coldly pulls her hand away. Preston grabs her wrist again, professing his love, but she pulls away once more. He holds on tight, warning her that he won't pay for dinner if she leaves. Nena stops pulling, demanding to know how he could go back on his word. She tells him that if he cannot keep promises, he should not make them. A heartless person never learns. Preston suddenly panics. He realizes he has a massive problem and desperately tries to explain himself. He promises to treat everyone, but Nena just frowns and yanks her hand free. She tells him to leave because she is in a bad mood right now. Can you believe her? She actually plans on confessing her feelings to Gavin later. But before that, Preston speaks up, seeming to have made a final decision. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a shining diamond ring. He drops to one knee, reminding Nena of their high school days together. He confesses his deepest feelings, asking her to finally take this step and be with him. If she agrees, she just has to wear this couple's diamond ring. The classmates are speechless, watching Preston actually propose to Nena right now. Preston is so devoted, having harbored feelings for Nena ever since high school. The loud commotion catches Gavin's attention just as he is preparing to leave. He glances over with a twitching eye, annoyed by the sudden drama. If he had known she was here, he would have skipped this deal entirely. Gavin stands up to leave, causing Nena to completely panic and call out. She calls for him to wait, leaving Preston frozen on his knees. He spent $10,000 on these matching rings, yet she ignores him. Preston desperately grabs her hand, but Nena only watches Gavin walk away. Seeing him about to leave, Nena breaks down and drops a major bombshell. She begs Gavin to wait, shouting that she wants to confess to him. The moment she said those words, everyone was stunned, even Gavin was. Completely speechless, he thought to himself this girl had to be joking. He had reported his location to Winter today, but if she found out about this confession fiasco, it would be an absolute love triangle bloodbath. Preston's mind completely shattered in the meantime. He looked at Nena, trembling as he stuttered, I. Nena angrily shook off his hand and yelled, Preston, let me tell you. I might have liked you before, but everything is clear now. Gavin, I still like you more. Gavin wanted to scream, was Preston even a man? She was treating him like garbage while he stood there. He should slap her, but Preston just wept. Then why don't you hit her? You clearly love her too. Gavin merely scoffed, thinking that he wanted to avoid assault charges. Unlike this idiot, Preston was proving to be the absolute joker of the city. Seeing this play out, Nena smirked. She was completely determined to melt Gavin's cold heart today, saying, Gavin, we have known each other since high school. I like you because you are sincere, kind, and gentle. I want to be brave this once. Will you accept my confession and be with me? The entire crowd erupted in absolute chaos. Today, Preston confesses to Nena and she turns around to confess to Gavin. What a nested doll plotline this was. The crowd did not even know who they should be jealous of. Suddenly, a cold, terrifying aura began creeping in from the shadows, giving Gavin a very bad feeling. This dark, familiar presence was coming directly from the Hot Pot restaurant's very own security room. Inside, Winter sat in a chair, her cold gaze scrutinizing the large screen in front of her. Her eyes swept over Gavin's tall and upright figure standing like a solitary pine. Pure greed and desire surged in her eyes at Nena's confession. Winter's gaze instantly narrowed dangerously. Beside her, the restaurant owner, Liu Hongchen, was completely dumbfounded. How did he end up catching his top investor's man having an affair? This was a total cliché soap opera, and his legs shook uncontrollably. Boss Winter, please calm down, he stammered. I will have the guards clear the area. Winter coldly refused, taking off her black lace gloves and expressionlessly cracking her knuckles. She stood up to handle it personally. Back outside, Nena eagerly asked Gavin if he would accept her confession. Staring at him expectantly, Gavin stepped back, his eyes carrying nothing but absolute disgust. He flatly told her, "Nena, I am a germaphobe who hates dirty things." In his past life, he only realized her true nature after catching her red-handed. She had admitted to hooking up with guys since high school, proving she was completely filthy. Thank goodness he never touched her back then. Nena was stunned. She stared in absolute disbelief, asking what right he had to call her dirty. Feeling deeply wronged and humiliated, her eyes grew red as she sobbed, uncontrollably crying that she always loved him. She was flatly rejected. Was there something she did wrong? Rejected again. Why would he not accept her? Rejected once more. This brutal triple rejection combo completely broke Nena's fragile defenses entirely. The crowd's eyes widened in absolute shock at this. Naf finally realized what was happening, telling Gavin to stop lying to himself. She mocked him, asking what kind of girlfriend he could ever find. She claimed the new girl was just a replacement to forget her, and definitely only after his money, a complete gold digger. But Gavin simply laughed. So what? If she had ulterior motives, as long as she was happy, he did not care what she did to him. But the moment those words escaped, he instantly regretted it. Right then, a cold, clear voice called from the doorway, "I will give you 3 seconds to let go of Gavin." Winter stood with her hands in her jacket pockets, casually leaning against the doorframe, radiating a barely perceptible murderous intent from her tired eyes. The lights cascaded over her snow-white skin, making it glow. When a woman of such peerless, cold beauty appeared, the rest of the world immediately paled in comparison. Everyone was mesmerized. Naf froze as well, her previous anger vanishing instantly, leaving her completely lost. Recognizing her as Director Winter, the 3 seconds passed quickly. Winter walked up to Na, throwing a vicious punch straight into her chest, and this single strike nearly sent Na straight to the afterlife. Right then and there, a shrill scream instantly snapped the stunned crowd back to reality. Preston was the first to react, mustering his courage to try and teach Winter a lesson. Instead, he was hit with a sharp, ruthless shoulder throw and slammed hard onto the floor. Winter calmly brushed a stray lock of hair behind her ear and looked straight at Gavin, saying it was late and she came to take him home. He suddenly felt that being with Winter was actually pretty great. Although she was a bit domineering with outsiders, she always showed him absolute respect. Preston remembered the sheer terror of going on stage to receive his award, instantly feeling his throat tighten. Finally, he forced out a sentence, asking if she knew who he was and boasting about his wealthy father in U City with tens of millions in assets, warning that she would not get away with touching him. Winter shot a glance at Quinn beside her, who immediately signaled that he understood, jotting it down in his little notebook. Gavin could not help but laugh at the guy self-destructing right in front of them. At the end of the day, Preston still had no idea about Winter's absolute dominance in U City. She was the true boss who held the power of life and death, perhaps because Winter had been looking down on him with disdain for too long. Preston felt his masculine pride severely wounded, actually charging at her with a punch, yelling that he would not her bully. Winter looked displeased, grabbing an empty beer bottle from the table and smashed it right over his head. A hint of crimson also dyed her beautiful eyes. Preston slumped to the floor, nearly fainting. He looked at Winter in disbelief, terror engulfing him as he asked who she really was. Now was completely dumbfounded, screaming for security because she was hitting people, but seeing the overwhelming aura radiating from Winter, the security guards in the hot pot restaurant did not dare step forward at all. Were they serious? This was Winter, the powerful CEO of Manhwa Group in U City. They had just seen their usually arrogant boss bowing and scraping in front of her. How could they dare to block her way? Right then, the owner, Liu Hongchun, sticking his big belly out, arrived late and rushed over to Na, introducing himself as the owner. At the hot pot restaurant, a powerful voice speaks up as Nena spots her savior. She cries out for help, claiming that this person is hitting people. Lu Hongchan looks absolutely furious, introducing Boss Winter as his investor. He announces that every single person here today is officially blacklisted. They are completely banned from his restaurants, every single one. The security guards immediately step in, firmly gesturing for the students to leave. Everyone is gasping, completely lost in what feels like a total fever dream. A school director only has power on campus, right? Why is she still this terrifying outside? One male student sighs. No wonder Gavin completely looked down on Nena. He has a wealthy, stunning goddess on his side, especially after seeing this scene. Seeing her take charge like that is enough to make your heart skip a beat. Gavin just watched, calmly enjoying the whole show. He even cracked sunflower seeds before it was time to leave. Winter walks over, staring deeply at the hand Nena had grabbed earlier. Her voice carries a dangerous edge as Nena stands there crying. Her confession totally failed, and even her biggest supporter might finally walk away. Gavin leaves the restaurant, surrounded by the stunned gazes of his classmates. Meanwhile, the class group chat has already completely exploded with messages. Tonight was wild. They keep asking about Gavin's situation. They cannot believe his girlfriend is such an incredibly top-tier catch. He is the ultimate winner in life, getting dropped off at school in hypercars every day. Daily hypercar rides are one thing, but this latest news has Sammy completely losing his mind. He demands to know who this mystery girlfriend is, calling Gavin a lucky dog. Sammy asks how Gavin could hide this, and Gavin just smiles reading the texts. They are not official yet, and he has no idea if she is willing. Perhaps riding in such a comfortable luxury car is just a bit too relaxing. He drifts off, staring down. Winter's gaze grows incredibly deep. She looks at him, fighting back the urge to take a playful bite. Quinn has never seen her boss this gentle before and feels compelled to speak up. She is happy to see Winter finding real joy, but she still has concerns. She cautions Winter not to get too invested, remembering how often she was betrayed before. She worries that if it happens again, Winter might not be able to survive. Winter simply shakes her head, keeping her eyes fixed on his peaceful, sleeping face. Simply having him by her side is more than enough, even though she is 6 years older. In any relationship, the weaker partner usually has to carry a heavier load. She feels like she already puts too much pressure on him, gently stroking his neck. If his past actions were all a lie, then he has calculated every single move. Since that is the case, how could she ever bear to let him lose? Quinn's eyes widen in shock, talk about a love that runs dangerously deep. Ever since returning to the Wen financial conglomerate at just 8 years old, she had never bowed her head to anyone, but things are different now. She is willing to be deceived, hurt, and tricked, yet she would still love him. She would gladly love him to the absolute bone, just as Gavin suddenly jolts awake. A total nightmare. He dreamt he was imprisoned by Winter all over again. Then he wakes up. This cannot be happening all over again. With so much drama today, sleep is impossible, if they go back and Winter has another Yandere episode and locked him up, things would go south fast, so he speaks up, telling Winter he has something to say. She slowly and methodically folded her newspaper, asking what it was. He scratched his head a bit, embarrassed, offering to buy her something since he remembered promising to do so before. Winter happily agreed. In fact, she had something to give him too. Soon they arrive at the massive financial hub tower. When the two of them step inside, every single eye in the room immediately locks onto them. People wonder which wealthy family these gorgeous elites belong to, or if they are celebrities. And why on earth do they have so many guards following them? When Winter went shopping with him, she brought 3 personal guards to help carry bags and to watch out for any sudden assassination attempts. He spots an arcade nearby and feels a sudden spark of interest, asking Winter if she wants to play. She looks at his eager face and smiles, agreeing to try a toy gun balloon shooting game. Hitting enough targets rewards the player with a cute plush toy. Under the watchful eyes of the growing crowd, Winter steps up and professionally grips the toy gun. Grip, load, aim, fire. Zero wasted movement, just pure clinical precision. Bang. Bang, bang, 20 consecutive shots and not a single miss. The booth worker Zayame stands completely dumbfounded, praising her skills. He also takes a deep breath. Is there absolutely anything this eldest princess cannot do? Winter's eyes shine with joy. It has been ages since she last relaxed, all her built-up exhaustion suddenly melting away. While he is standing there completely dazed, Winter hands him the toy gun. It is his turn now, feeling the heavy, expectant stares of the surrounding crowd. He feels incredibly embarrassed. He really should have gone first to set a low bar and avoid looking completely hopeless next to her. He really is just an amateur who loves to play despite being awful, and his score will probably reflect that. But Winter takes his hands, adjusting his stiff posture piece by piece to help him. He feels a wave of self-consciousness. Normally, he is completely confident around anyone else. But in front of Winter, he feels incredibly small and shy, perhaps. That is the price of falling in love, instantly feeling like you are not enough. He is falling hard for her. Winter gazes down at him gently, telling him to never belittle himself. She did not choose him on a random whim, but because he is genuinely good enough, outstanding, and the gentlest soul she has ever met. He just needs some time to grow, and when that day finally comes, he will stand shoulder to shoulder with her on a much grander stage. Only then will he see that truly incredible people are found everywhere. Watching his journey to the top is one of the very few meaningful things left in her life. His heart flutters, the thick layer of cement he used to protect his heart. After being reborn is completely shattered now. She is just too overpowered. He thought they agreed to play it safe, taking things slow and building up. But she just stepped up and dropped her ultimate ability directly on him. It is a total, unavoidable one-shot attack. Deciding to try his best, he realizes that this scary Yandere is actually incredibly gentle deep down, yet he cannot help but wonder if she treats anyone else this way, or if he truly is the only man she has ever cared about. Falling in love really changes everything. He aims as fast as a swordsman drawing his blade. Bang, the first shot completely misses. 3 more shots yield the exact same result. His composure completely shatters. Panicking, he fires a dozen more rounds in a row, but they all miss terribly. He takes a deep breath and squeezes the trigger again. Several rapid shots ring out. Suddenly, a strange, unnatural memory flashes directly through his mind. It is a first-person shooter perspective with a legendary sniper's precision. It seems he inexplicably unlocked a hidden talent. He focuses his eyes. Staring intently at the bullseye, he fires. Bang, bang, bang. This time is different. Just like a seasoned pro, he does not miss a single shot. Absolute talent. The bystanders are completely stunned. Did this guy just awaken some kind of superpower? Not bad, she thinks. A strange look flashes deep within Winter's eyes. She slowly pulls a thick stack of cash out and places it in Zayomi's hand. Consider it a tip. Then she orders her bodyguards to hand everyone cash, giving each person a $600 envelope. Everyone is completely dumbfounded. They only stopped by to watch the drama and throw out a few compliments. Now they are getting free cash. Zayomi is grinning from ear to ear. She thanks the beautiful lady and handsome man, wishing them a long, happy marriage. She hopes they have kids early and grow old together in peace. Winter stays quiet for a moment, then tells her bodyguard to give her more. Give her another 10,000. Meanwhile, Gavin slips away to a nearby jewelry store. He picks out a beautiful 4-leaf clover diamond bracelet, hoping it brings her luck. Winter's path in life has been incredibly rough and full of hardships. The moment they arrive home, he presents the diamond bracelet he secretly bought. He tells her it is for her, hoping the clover brings good fortune. Winter stares at the diamond bracelet, her eyes lighting up with pure joy. She trembles with excitement, looking like a child who has never been praised. It is like she owns the world. Gavin is startled, suddenly remembering her promise. Butler Luke approaches him, mentioning that Boss Winter has left a gift for him. Luke leads him down to the garage to finally reveal his brand new present. There it sits, a stunning Maserati MC20. He feels like he is ascending. How did she even know he wanted this car? Talk about a dream. Honestly, who wouldn't want a rich sugar mommy taking care of them like this? His little diamond gift cost barely $30,000, yet she turns around and gifts him a supercar worth over $3 million. Butler Luke hands him a contract. Boss Winter also bought him a 200-meter detached villa in Chen Palace. Total price $120 million. Gavin is left completely speechless. A private villa. Butler Luke looks at him, confused by his intense shock. The entire fortune he struggled for in his past life was barely enough for a tiny townhouse here, yet Winter just bought him 2 whole villas with cash. Boss Winter apparently plans to completely unfreeze his legendary black card. But she still wanted the butler to check and ask for his opinion first. Gavin is stunned. Isn't she worried at all that he might just run away? Luke looks at him. She probably is, but she has completely fallen for him. Regarding the card, she just wants him to have some fun. She hopes he can find some genuine accomplishment in building his own path. Money, when financial freedom comes without a single drop of sweat, it is easy to spiral into absolute, mind-numbing nihilism. For now, he decided to unfreeze the card and keep making easy cash, but he needed to grow stronger, much faster. To protect Winter, she was already highly successful in her career, so he could easily choose to be a happy leech living off her for the rest of his life. But as a man, seeing his woman work herself to exhaustion made his heart ache. He looked forward to the day he could shield Winter from any storm. Butler Luke was stunned, asking if he had truly fallen for Winter while looking at him. Curiously, his feelings toward Winter had clearly changed. "That is wonderful," he said, wanting to tell her immediately, but Gavin stopped him, telling him to wait. Not yet. He wanted to stand before her as a far more outstanding version of himself before confessing his feelings directly. After a rough calculation, he estimated about $50 million was on that card. That money was already enough to launch a short video app. If he pulled this off, maybe he could actually help Winter. First came the milk tea stall, then the rundown apartments. The plan to purchase rundown apartments. At the bank, he discovered that, in fact, the black card held $300 million, so he decided to use $100 million to buy up 100 apartments in that complex. They were going to be demolished soon anyway, so he would make it back. He also targeted the massive market of Haydilo, finding himself a reliable partner to launch a brand new hot pot chain that he named Haley Lau. Next, he spent $50 million to buy the video platform company, Blue Whale Technology Company Limited, where he pitched his fresh concept for a short video app. As for promotion and development costs, he told them not to worry about any of it and just go all out. The name would be TikTok. Everyone nodded, seemingly understanding, though not fully grasping it. But watch what happens next. Blue Whale Company had no clue that this brand new app called TikTok would completely dominate the entire video market. Over the weekend, led by KHLO, many classmates gathered at a bar. One asked if anyone noticed Gavin had not been to school for days. Mentioning this, Nina could not help but frown, saying she had wanted to warn him before. Having a gorgeous girlfriend would only make him lose his drive, and even if he inherited the family fortune, he would just squander it all. Hearing this, the other classmates could not help but laugh. Just then the usually quiet Wang Xiang spoke up. Gavin took those days off to run his business, partnering with Wang Xiang's father to start a hot pot chain called Haila Lao. Hearing this, everyone froze. The waiter arrived with their drinks, announcing that tonight's expenses for the entire venue were covered by Gavin. He was coming. If they kept gossiping, security would happily throw them out. Talk about a reality check. The color drained from their faces. After a heavy silence, KH Low broke down, demanding to know where that money came from, assuming it had to be his family's wealth. So, behind every successful man, there must be a good woman, Xena sighed, Gavin's girlfriend. Dressed so flamboyantly, so what kind of career ambition could she possibly have? Wang Xiang fell into deep thought. They really needed to stop acting like they were in a soap opera, asking if they feared being thrown out. Besides, did they not know that Gavin currently owned over 20 milk tea shops? His daily net profit is nearing 100,000 now, and he even invested a whole 5 million in her father's company. The crowd fell into a deathly silence. What on earth? Heck, his daily net profit is nearing 100,000. Chloe pursed her lips. It is just because he comes from a great background. If she had those resources, she could do it too. Wayne completely lost his patience. Give your brain a rest. The most you can do is memorize designer bag prices and count how many fake socialites it takes to split the bill for photos at internet famous spots. You think I do not know where those photos on your social media actually come from? Nina was absolutely furious. What right do you have to talk about us like that? Do you even know how hard it is to stage those photos? We can use them to network with high society, building connections in advance for life after graduation. Hey, you two better shut up, the waiter, listening nearby, was absolutely steaming. Without hesitation, he directly ordered security to throw both of them out of the bar. The two sat disheveled at the entrance of the bar. It took Chloe a long time to stand up. Fuming with anger, how could Gavin be so heartless? Well, speak of the devil, Maserati pulled up to the bar entrance. Gavin stepped out of the car, dressed in a sharp suit. Seeing him, Nina sobered up instantly. She looked at him pitifully with tears welling up in her eyes. Gavin, I hurt so much. Can you help me? Gavin glanced at Nina and instinctively took 2 steps back. Then he walked over to the driver's side door. Winter, I forgot to tell you, although bars are good places to relax, they also have a lot of trash. A pair of long, slender legs stepped out, followed by a cold, noble silhouette. Winter was wearing an elegant, professional suit. She looked up at him. It is a bit noisy here. Okay, let us go to a quiet lounge instead. Nina stared at them with wide, disbelieving eyes. Watching the two of them about to drive away, Nina suddenly realized that she did not even have the courage to call out Gavin's name anymore. Just then, Preston walked up to Nina and helped her stand. Nina was instantly deeply moved. Preston, I knew you treated me the best. My family went bankrupt, Preston said with a miserable face. I do not know what happened, but ever since I treated you too hot pot that day, everything changed. Can you lend me some money? Preston desperately grabbed Nina's hand. I have transferred over 500,000 to you. Over time, give it back. Nina took 2 terrified steps back. How could you be so unreasonable when that money was a gift? How can you ask for it back? Preston broke down, kneeling in front of Nina. I am begging you. My parents are running around trying to borrow money everywhere. Nina, did you not say you considered me a friend? I cannot even afford to eat now, and I do not want to drop out of school to work. Chloe was completely dumbfounded. She had never seen Preston looking so utterly devoid of dignity. Are you even a man? In response, Preston lunged forward and hugged her leg right on the spot. You also spent at least 30 or 40,000 of my money, so give it back or I will sue you right now. Chloe let out a terrified scream. Nina took 2 steps back and fled the scene. Like she was running for her life. Preston's family was perfectly fine before. Why would they suddenly go bankrupt? Was it because they offended Gavin's girlfriend at the hot pot restaurant that day? Nina slowly shook her head. She panics frantically, assuming Gavin is using his connections to protect her. But in her mind, all of this belongs to her and should be hers alone. At the Qingfeng Lounge, things are much quieter as Gavin and Winter head inside. After settling into a quiet corner to listen to some music, Gavin notices her mood seems off. He asks if something bad happened lately, while Winter calmly pours herself some red wine. She brushes it off as annoying business she can easily handle herself. Gavin raises an eyebrow and smiles, asking if little Winter is absolutely sure she doesn't want to open up, even though she is fully capable of handling everything entirely on her own. He jokes that telling him will make things go much faster, asking if she wants to try. She looks up, asking if he is treating her like a child and demanding a lollipop first. Gavin thinks he heard wrong, asking if she wants strawberry flavor. He doesn't know whether to laugh or cry, wondering just how much. She clearly has a massive obsession with them, since everything from her cakes to lollipops must be strawberry. So Gavin heads out to the supermarket right next door to the bar. He buys a massive haul of treats, only to return and find two unconscious tattooed thugs on the floor. Winter casually calls them some annoying flies. This instantly reminds Gavin of their recent phone call, where she casually mentioned swatting a few simple pests. It hits him that those actual flies from back then were probably real people. He hands over the snacks, noting her clear obsession with strawberry flavors. He bought her an incredible variety of strawberry treats, including cakes, lollipops, and even some marshmallows. He even bought ice cream, telling her to eat up. Then Winter suddenly stands up and pins him. She presses him against the. She snaps, does he really think she likes these toys? Gav just nods, nobody ever escapes eating their own words. With Winter 10 minutes later, the snacks are gone. They ruthlessly polished off every single bite, looking at the crumbs on her face. Gav cannot help but laugh at her surprisingly massive appetite today. Do not tell anyone, Winter mutters, blushing red. Back at Yi University, Gav wonders what possessed him in his past life. He actually signed up for archery, and Sammy tagged along too. Now they are suffering together as Sammy collapses on the floor. Sammy gasps out, Gav, are you hacking since you dumped her? You are defying the heavens. Gav calmly draws his bow. He shoots another arrow, asking Sammy if his goals are bigger. Sammy cannot help but sigh, saying Gav is way too good to him. Sammy points out that Gav literally gave him an entire apartment. Even though it was totally run down, housing prices there skyrocketed. So Sammy sold it immediately, making $50,000. Sammy suggests Gav should sell too, but wait, does he know? Gav looks at Sammy like he is an absolute idiot. Does Sammy honestly not realize $50,000 will soon become $3 million? Gav decides not to explain, keeping this poor fool in the dark. Instead, he just keeps pulling his bow back, firing clean shots. Suddenly, he realizes the archery mechanics feel incredibly familiar. To the mechanics of aiming a gun, drawing his bow back, this time dead. Center on the bullseye, he hits it 3 more times in a row, then 20 more times. Even when switching to moving targets, he hits every single one. Sammy leaps up from the ground, yelling that Gavin turned on his aimbot. Even Gavin is a bit stunned. Could he really be some kind of 1 in a million genius? Sammy suddenly gets a look of realization. He claims to know exactly what is happening, insisting it must be a weapon spirit. Gavin falls into deep thought, sensing something is off. How could weapon spirits actually exist? Regardless, what is done. Time to grab some food. His CEO is a complete Yandere. To stop him from marrying the pure campus belle, she locked him in a basement for 2.5 years. Later, he was murdered in a conspiracy between that same belle and his best friend, that trashy duo laughed at his funeral while plotting how to spend his inheritance, but the CEO gave up all her power and status to personally hunt down those scumbags for him. She looked at his lifeless face, whispering and asking why he could not just stay by her side since he was the only one she ever wanted. When he opens his eyes again, he finds himself reborn, back at Winter's Rose Manor. Sammy drags him to the cafeteria, where they bump right into Chloe at the main entrance. She looks pitifully, telling him he needs to see Nina right now because she is About to do something stupid after sitting on the balcony all day, Gavin knows exactly what kind of person Nina is, likely just pulling a stunt to win him back, but calculating the time since his rebirth. He realizes that if Nina continued her life normally, she would soon have a chance encounter during her junior year, discovering a strong passion for medicine and eventually becoming a doctor, but all those bright futures have absolutely nothing to do with her anymore. Reborn now, he has already decided her miserable ending. Gavin just grins. Chloe being a dog for anyone is still just being a dog. Chloe is about to start cursing, but he whispers a quick sentence in her ear, causing her to instantly freeze. She looks at him in utter disbelief. She agrees to gather the photos he wants, but since she and Nina are besties, she demands more money. Gavin shoots her a cold glance, offering another $60,000. Chloe smiles warmly, quickly turning to leave. Soon, the moon is bright and the stars are sparse. Butler Luke calls him, explaining that boss Winter sent him on an errand, meaning he cannot drive Gavin home. He suggests taking a taxi. Gavin feels something is off but cannot pinpoint it. He opens the car door and steps inside. Immediately, someone presses a cold knife against the back of his neck, the chilling sensation making every nerve in his body instantly tense up. Is this a robbery? He tells them he has money and to calm down, warning that doing anything to him will bring consequences they absolutely cannot handle. Being held hostage like this is something that definitely did not happen in his past life. Suddenly, a man in a sharp suit, sitting in the back seat, smiles. He introduces himself as Wyatt, noting that strictly speaking he should call him uncle-in-law, but since he is already 30, they can skip the formalities. He cannot help but size Gavin up through the rear view mirror, calling him a rare, handsome guy and noting why his aunt likes him. Gavin realizes who this is: Wyatt. He remembers hearing this exact name right before his death in his past. In her past life, Winter's dying wish was to give all her power to Wyatt, just perfect. In that past life, Gavin was locked up for so long, he never actually got kidnapped by Wyatt. But right now, the taxi carrying Gavin drives straight into a desolate, abandoned area. Suddenly, the bodyguards secretly protecting Gavin finally reveal themselves. They charge straight toward the vehicle, ready for a head-on clash. As the two sides violently clash, Wyatt laughs, saying Winter must really care about Gavin. Wyatt mocks him, asking if Gavin ever saw how desperately Winter fought for the old patriarch. She fought tooth and nail back then, but now things are different. Wyatt smirks, noting that having Gavin as a bargaining chip makes everything so much easier. Hearing this, Butler Luke's eyes widen. He warns that the patriarch won't forgive him. Wyatt just laughs, casually playing with a blood-stained dagger in his hand. He demands Winter kneel down, or else he won't hold back at all. He presses the blade against Gavin's neck, but Winter only sneers at him. She mocks Wyatt for relying on such low-level, messy tactics just to humiliate her. She asks if he's not afraid the patriarch will hold him accountable later. Smiling, Wyatt tells her to stab herself once if she wants to save Gavin. Otherwise, his blade is going straight through Gavin's heart, and Gavin's breathing turns ragged. Gavin begs her to stop, saying she has compromised enough. He doesn't want her getting hurt, but Winter sternly tells him to shut up. Seeing him prepare to resist, she shouts that she alone will bear this pain. Her gaze is intense, filled with deep affection, claiming he has no right to decide. Seeing her reach for the sharp blade, Gavin feels a sudden, sharp pang of dread. Anger and desperation rush to Gavin's head as he yells out her name. He warns that if she dies, he will completely erase her from his memory. He threatens to marry 100 wives instead, making Winter pause in her tracks. She looks up at him with a soft smile, whispering that it would be fine. Gavin's head throbs violently as he realizes she is actually going to do it. It feels like something deep inside his mind is finally breaking through its shackles. He violently shoves his captors aside, making Wyatt's eyes widen in sheer shock. Before Wyatt can even react, Gavin knocks him flat on the ground with one punch. Wyatt is completely dazed, struggling to get back on his feet in absolute disbelief. He stammers, asking if Gavin actually knows how to fight, but gets cut off instantly. Gavin slaps him repeatedly, quickly turning his face into a swollen, bruised mess. The other thugs rush in to stop him, but Gavin drops them one by one. Winter watches this display, a brief flicker of terror crossing her stunned eyes. Instantly drawing her blade, she charges right into the fray to back him up. Soon everything is under control, leaving Wyatt dizzy and utterly beaten. Wyatt groans, accusing Winter of setting him up on purpose, but she just cold shoulders him. She warns him that he won't die today, because a worse fate awaits him. Just then, the door of a luxury car slowly opens, and a stern man steps out. It is the patriarch, coldly stating how deeply disappointed he is in Wyatt. Shocked, Wyatt drops to his knees in panic, begging his father for mercy. He claims it is all a misunderstanding, and that Winter set him up. The patriarch frowns, ordering Wyatt to go home and remain confined for a month. Watching this play out, Gavin finally realizes that everything was part of Winter's master plan. Butler Luke leads Gavin to the car, urging him not to worry. Boss Winter is fine, and Luke will take him to bandage his wounds first. Meanwhile, the patriarch gives Winter a loaded look, calling her his good sister. He never expected her to keep such a ticking time bomb by her side, asking if she is afraid, but her affairs do not concern him. Winter's eyes burn with overwhelming murderous intent as she fires back. She warns them that if they dare touch a single hair on Gavin's head again, they shouldn't blame her. Later, on the ride back to the Rose Manor, Gavin recalls his past. In his previous life, he was imprisoned by Winter for a long time in his past life, eventually escaping to the Imperial capital, where he heard rumors about Wyatt. Now that trash almost hurt him, so Gavin vows to make the bastard pay the price. By the time Gavin returns to the Rose Manor, dawn is breaking. Where is Winter? He cannot find her anywhere, and starts feeling uneasy until Quinn points toward the nearby garden, telling Gavin to see for himself. Boss Winter's mood has been terrible since returning. This massive garden fish tank is indeed built huge, almost the size of a swimming pool. Beneath the water, a beautiful silhouette curls up, her long hair floating weightlessly. Her lifeless eyes look completely hollow. Just then, Dr. Wright spots Gavin and breathes a huge sigh of relief, explaining that Gavin is finally here. He warns that Winter's mental state is bad. He has never seen her look so hopeless. Hearing this, Gavin's heart clenches with sharp anxiety. He taps gently on the glass, begging her to come out of the freezing water, but Winter shows absolutely no reaction, except that bubbles soon escape the corner of her mouth. Dr. Wright freezes in shock, wondering if she is actively trying to die. In an instant, Gavin feels his strength fade as his heart stings sharply. A single thought consumes him: he cannot lose Winter. He leaps into the tank, pulling Winter out. She remains completely limp and unresponsive. The psychologist is incredibly anxious and rushed. He immediately tries psychological interventions, but they have absolutely no effect. The doctor says he will wait outside if Winter will not listen to Gavin anymore, then staying here is completely useless. Dr. Wright leaves the bedroom, leaving Gavin alone with her. Outside the room, Quinn and Butler Luke are pacing in deep anxiety, wondering why Boss Winter suddenly broke down. Luke sighs heavily, explaining that she did not just suddenly crack, although he does not know exactly what happened. Some unseen struggles must have finally crushed her entire spirit. Inside, Gavin is drowning in near despair. Why did she suddenly turn out like this? He begs her to live, asking if she truly wants to die and abandon him. At those desperate words, Winter finally shows a slight reaction. She looks up at Gavin with a weak plea, asking him to promise her one thing. He gently strokes her head, telling her to speak. With the trouble resolved, why is she so sad? He has never seen her in this broken state before. Why is he so sad? She has never seen him looking so completely down before. Winter remains dead silent, leaving him to gently try his best to comfort her. He promises she shouldn't worry about today's scary incident repeating again. He will train harder to grow stronger, swearing never to let anyone hurt her again. Winter's voice shakes as she begs him to talk to her if anything happens. She will explain everything, admitting she is not quite powerful enough yet. In the past, she had to do many terrible things she hated just to survive. She struggled constantly, desperate to find a way to keep the best of both worlds. She pleads with him not to doubt her or misunderstand her intentions. His heart aches listening to her. He asks her to tell him what really happened. He believes her. Instantly, her grip tightens. She hugs him like a lifeline. She begs him to just stay by her side, saying that is enough. A single tear slips down her cheek, once so proud, high and mighty. This noble princess of a massive conglomerate now looks incredibly fragile. She looks like a porcelain doll about to shatter, throwing away all her pride. Honestly, seeing her proud spirit completely trampled like this is heartbreaking. By the afternoon of the next day, he watches her sleeping peacefully beside him. He feels an unprecedented wave of happiness. Winter's eyelashes flutter lightly. She slowly opens her eyes. "You're awake," he says, looking down at her. Holding her close, she seems so reliant on him as he calls her cute. She raises an eyebrow, asking if cute is really the right word for her. Getting out of bed, he pulls at his injury, painful, sharp. Seeing this, Winter immediately heads to the cabinet to grab first aid supplies. She kneels right down on one knee in front of him. With absolute focus, her head bowed, she carefully rebandages his wound. Remembering how he got this injury, a sudden wave of fury flashes in her eyes. That worthless piece of trash does not deserve to live, she thinks coldly. She will personally end him when the time comes. He just looks and smiles. He smiles, telling her the bandage is fine and she can head to work. Winter raises an eyebrow, asking if he dares to order her around like that. He boldly replies that as his future wife, she obviously has to listen to him. He regrets those words instantly. Winter stands up, her arms are tightly crossed. She notes that someone is getting way too brave, making him sweat bullets. Winter leans in, staring him down. She reminds him of his past bragging. He once claimed he would marry over 100 wives and party every night. Winter sneers, warning him that as long as she is still breathing, he can forget about ever having a child with another woman in this lifetime. He mentally kicks himself. His bad, he shouldn't speak so lightly. He quickly tells her she does not have to listen to him today. Smugness flashes in her eyes as she plants a gentle kiss on his cheek. She calls him her good boy. Honestly, his injury keeps him resting anyway. Winter heads back to the office. He spots butler Luke working around the manor. He calls out, asking the butler if he knows where Winter's mother's belongings are. Anything from her old clothes to jewelry would help, even just a single piece. Hearing this, butler Luke's expression instantly turns quite solemn as he looks back. He explains that the items are kept at the Wen family estate, but warns him. Winter did not take them along. Why was Gavin suddenly asking about them anyway? Since Gavin had some free time over the next 2 days, he was planning a trip. He was heading to the imperial capital and wanted to let Winter know his plans. Gavin wanted some serious backup to build an empty tomb for Winter's mother. While honoring Winter's mother, he figured he might as well teach Wyatt a painful lesson too. Meanwhile, at the imperial capital, Wyatt walked toward his office. His assistant followed closely behind, speaking to the young master with absolute caution. The patriarch warned that although Wyatt was released early from his 3-day confinement, he must learn. He needed to remember the previous lesson, stay smart, and avoid making the same mistakes. The silent assistant watched Wyatt forcefully hold back his intense rage. How could his own father side with an absolute outsider? The assistant trembled in pure terror, whispering desperately for his master to calm down. But Wyatt snapped, screaming that he knew exactly what his old man was trying to pull. Wyatt knew exactly what his father was thinking, but falling for such a cheap trick stung. He ground his teeth in absolute frustration, nearly shattering them from the sheer rage. Marching over to the vice president's office, Wyatt threw the door wide open. He demanded updates on Winter, only for a cold voice to echo from the dark. "You better mind your own business," the cold voice warned him. He knew something was off, and things were about to take a wild turn. Pinned down on the hard floor, Wyatt roared in absolute and sudden fury. The stranger calmly flipped the light switch, revealing his face. It was none other than Quinn. Quinn warned Wyatt that calling security right now would be a massive mistake for him. Making a scene would only make things much worse, and they both knew why. After all, he certainly would not want the world to know about his massive embezzlement. Hearing those words, Wyatt went completely and utterly stiff. He had indeed messed up a major project and tried to cover up his tracks. But he had hidden the evidence perfectly. How on earth did Winter find out? Wyatt gritted his teeth, demanding to know what kind of nonsense they were talking about. Quinn calmly replied that he simply had some spare time and decided to dig around. He hacked the files and tossed the printed evidence right at Wyatt. Challenging Wyatt to explain himself, a deep chill ran straight down the man's spine. He stared at Quinn in absolute disbelief, asking if he was actually a professional hacker. Quinn proudly asked why else his boss would have hired him in the first place. Wyatt realized there was no escape now. Winter was finally coming for her revenge. He cursed at her vengeful nature, demanding to know what they wanted from him now. Quinn reminded him that since he injured Gavin before, it was time to pay it back. Wyatt's eyes darkened. He picked up a nearby dagger and drove it into his own thigh. Shaking violently from the excruciating pain, he demanded to know how Winter found out. He begged for answers, but Quinn merely told him he had guessed completely wrong. Quinn then walked over to the large office chair and bowed with deep respect. He welcomed Gavin back, just as the massive chair slowly began to spin around. Gavin sat lazily on the chair, looking down coldly at the bleeding Wyatt. He noted this single wound did not even compare to the pain Wyatt caused Winter. Wyatt's eyes went wide in pure shock, unable to believe who was sitting there. He gasped in shock, collapsing helplessly onto the cold hard floor. Wyatt laughs maniacally, unable to accept that he was completely outsmarted by a nobody. Gavin slowly stands up and walks over to him, asking Wyatt what he truly wants the most right now. Gavin will not kill him, but warns him to stay away from Winter. Otherwise, he will make him wish for death. Is embezzlement his only secret? Gavin asks casually. Wyatt instantly feels his scalp crawl with terror. He asks if Gavin is trying to scare him, but gets stomped. The heavy boot to his mouth makes Wyatt question his life choices. Even Quinn, standing nearby, cannot bear to watch this brutal display. Winter's man is truly wild. Gavin demands her mother's belongings right now. But Wyatt scrambles up from the floor, trying to stab him. Without even turning around, Gavin punches Wyatt square in the chest. Wyatt lets out a painful scream, collapsing back down in convulsions. Gavin looks out at the city view, repeating his cold threat. "Cross them again and he will wish for death," the assistant seethes. He offers to fetch help immediately, but Wyatt roars in anger. Wyatt demands that he ignore the pain and fetch those belongings. Gavin grins at his sudden cooperation. Quinn nods along in agreement. He praises Gavin's training skills. Gavin coughs awkwardly in response. Gavin is still not as brutal as Winter. They soon retrieve the items. As they depart, Wyatt seethes over this absolute humiliation. He glares at his guards. Meanwhile, a private jet lands safely. A stunning woman in a black trench coat steps off the plane. Butler Luke follows respectfully, addressing her as Boss Winter. He explains that Gavin only came here to retrieve her mother's keepsakes. He begs her not to misunderstand, but Winter merely narrows her eyes. She asks if he seriously thought she brought an army for Gavin. She only saw his message late, otherwise she would never allow this. If Wyatt dares hurt even a single hair on his head today, she will level his entire family, leaving none of them with graves. She calmly slips on a tactical vest and grabs a heavy rifle. She pulls a massive weapon from her backseat, leaving Luke speechless. Honestly, she has gone off the deep end. Winter is a complete and utter lunatic. Meanwhile, Quinn happily drives the escape car, reminiscing about everything that just happened. He admits he has hated Wyatt for ages. Thrilled to see him humbled, he praises Gavin for being incredibly cool today. Quinn gives him a perfect score. Meanwhile, Wyatt is being held hostage by two guards, his face as dark and angry as thunder. Gavin tells him he would rather be insulted. Suddenly, his sixth sense flares. A dangerous aura looms nearby. Wait, a loud bang echoes as their tire blows out. A dozen vans block the road ahead, causing a frown. Gavin confronts Wyatt, asking if he truly thought he could escape. Wyatt bursts into maniacal laughter. He is not letting this go. If he fails to kill Gavin today, that blackmail will haunt him forever. The doors slide open as countless bodyguards step out to attack. Toward his location, Gavin dragged Wyatt out of the car as a hostage, warning everyone to step back or he would kill him. Wyatt grinned, "If you kill me, they will kill you immediately to avenge me. Do you think my father will let you leave the imperial capital?" Right then, a middle-aged man stepped out from behind the bodyguards, asking if Gavin was truly that man's son. Gavin raised an eyebrow. Did he know his parents? The patriarch calmly asked Gavin to let go of his worthless son, otherwise, he would kill him right then and there. In the distance, a massive sniper rifle was aimed straight at the car parked right next to the patriarch. Bang! With a loud blast, the car exploded. Blew up. Winter slowly walked over with her rifle. This time, she aimed the muzzle at the patriarch, asking if he had a death wish. The patriarch looked at the massive rifle in Winter's hands. His eyelids twitched, calling his sister impulsive. He quickly raised his hand. His subordinates instantly pulled out their pistols and aimed straight at Winter. Caught in the middle, Gavin's scalp went numb. Are all elite families this crazy? Winter just raised an eyebrow and smiled. Contemptuously, she was done being patient. As she finished speaking, over 100 bodyguards pulled out assault rifles. Butler Luke silently set up a massive Gatling gun in the back. Eldest princess, please calm down. After all, they were family and could talk this out. Just siblings playing around, just one big happy family. Talk about family drama. Winter dragged a woman out from the crowd and stepped on her. Right now she held two ticking time bombs. The first was enough to destroy Wyatt. The second was enough to level the Wen family. If they let Gavin go, she would pretend nothing happened today, or did they really want to see how crazy Winter could get? The patriarch's eyes widened. She was insane, but Winter lost it a long time ago. A manic light flashed in her eyes. Her Yandere side was fully exposed. She asked how many times she had to say she had no interest in fighting for power. She only wanted to protect her person and live peacefully. Did they really want to force her into madness? At this moment, Wyatt was also completely dumbfounded. He clearly recognized the woman Winter was stepping on. This was his first love, Ruru. He was a playboy, but to this first loves his precious white moonlight. He gave her everything, and she knew all his secrets. Wyatt quickly spoke up, begging his father to listen to him. Everything today was a giant misunderstanding. The patriarch raised an eyebrow, looking at Wyatt with amusement, asking if he was sure. Wyatt steeled his heart and gritted his teeth, admitting he was the one who offended his uncle-in-law. The patriarch remained silent for a long moment, those sharp eyes quietly observing Winter. The patriarch then looked at Gavin, asking him to let go. Gavin backed up slowly toward Winter, dragging Wyatt along until they were safe. Only then did he fiercely kick Wyatt away, seeing Gavin, the murderous intent in Winter's eyes instantly faded, only to be replaced by an even more extreme ferocity. She casually dropped two cold words, "Do it," as soon as they left her mouth. Countless bodyguards pulled their triggers. Screams echoed endlessly as All the subordinates around the patriarch were gunned down instantly. He didn't even react. The patriarch stared coldly at his useless son. Nailing at his feet, she was absolutely furious, needing to vent her frustration somehow. He ordered Wyatt to crawl back to the Wen family or never return at all. Wyatt refused to accept his fate as a discarded pawn. He begged his father. Asking if they would let this go, the patriarch snorted, dismissive and cold. He had 8 other excellent sons, so why waste any energy on a failure? With that, the man got into a van and drove off, on the jet back. Gavin stroked Winter's head, sensing she was still shaken up by today's events. Winter threw herself into his arms, looking up with bloodshot eyes. She begged him never to scare her again, threatening to lock him up if he did. Gavin looked tenderly at the woman in his arms, nodding softly to reassure her. He promised to listen, explaining that he only wanted to set up a cenotaph. A monument for her mother. Winter stared at him stiffly, completely speechless. Having never known real kindness, this moment was entirely beyond her imagination. She finally managed to speak, her voice as soft as a whisper. Asking if she was worth it, Gavin nodded, assuring her she absolutely was. His Winter was beautiful, caring, and always looked after those around her. She even treated her subordinates incredibly well. Hearing his words, she softened. Winter stared at him with intense, restrained affection. She truly cherished him. Yet she also feared her own madness might ruin such a pure, wonderful man. Letting out a soft sigh, Winter warned him never to flirt with other women. She reminded him that she had never been a good, gentle person. Gavin smiled, replying that he would never show this gentleness to anyone else. Butler Luke watched them with a warm, approving smile. This was perfect. Just then, a beautiful woman walked up to Winter and knelt down. She thanked Boss Winter, swearing she would never forget her life-saving kindness. Without their help, she would have died. This woman was Fang Xiao, Wyatt's first love and the key to Gavin discovering his massive financial embezzlement. Winter remained completely indifferent. She ordered old Luke to arrange her safety. He arranged for her to settle down with $10 million and round-the-clock protection. 10 bodyguards would guard her 24 hours a day. Soon, the plane landed. Gavin immediately rushed to organize the memorial details for Winter's mother. Right then, his phone rang. It was Chloe, claiming she had the photos. She wanted to meet in person. A calculating look flashed in Gavin's eyes. It was time to pull the net and finally destroy that schemer, Nina. Before leaving, he messaged Winter to let her know where he was going. Honestly, Yanderes aren't that terrifying as long as they feel deeply loved. Keep them close and they have no reason to snap. They can be incredibly sweet. Meanwhile, at a local tea house, Chloe pulled a stack of photos from her bag. They showed Nina entering and leaving various hotels with a rotation of men. There were countless shots of her acting highly intimate with different people. Gavin picked up the photos, his suspicions immediately confirmed by what he saw. It seemed Nina really enjoyed herself. Chloe then asked about her promised payment, demanding the $100,000 now that she had delivered the proof. Gavin insisted on a non-disclosure agreement first, reaching into his jacket. Briefcase to grab something. Chloe's expression instantly freezes. Kidding, Gavin smiles, pulling out $100,000 in cash from his bag. Chloe quickly snatches up the stack. She grins from ear to ear, showing her gums. Looking at the handsome man, her heart actually skips a beat. But Gavin did not even want Nina. He definitely would not want Chloe either. Right? No matter. Since she did not sign a non-disclosure agreement, she could just blackmail Gavin later. Chloe leaves happily. Gavin calmly taps his fingers. On the table, Preston, you can come out now. The moment those words leave his mouth, a hand reaches out. Preston awkwardly crawls his way out from underneath. He pants heavily, placing a voice recorder on the table. Boss. Gavin, I recorded the whole thing just now. Rest assured, there are no backups. Before this, I followed Chloe and captured proof of her secretly taking photos of Nina. They are all here, handing them over to you. Gavin raises an eyebrow and looks at Preston. Do you resent me? Preston lowers his head. People always make mistakes in life. After going through all this, I have finally woken up. Gavin then offers to give him a chance to make Nina pay for what she did. Gavin looks up at Preston, who stands there completely dumbfounded. Gavin smiles, telling him to pretend he made a comeback in front of Nina later. Play the rich, handsome guy and spend $510,000 on her, messing up her entire roster of men until it is an absolute toxic wasteland, to the point where her entire life implodes. Gavin promises to provide whatever resources Preston needs for the job, asking if he accepts. Preston swallows hard at the offer. Spend $510,000 on her, Preston asks in shock. Gavin calmly swirls the teacup in his hand. During a relationship, as long as the money is spent with the clear intention of marriage, it can be demanded back in the end. Gavin is giving him $510,000 to set the stage. Have fun, Preston. Preston, however, feels an absolute chill. He nods tremblingly and leaves. Gavin then pulls a separate voice recorder from his briefcase. It contains the entire recording of his talks with Chloe and Preston. Truth be told, Gavin does not trust any outsiders at all. Taking out his laptop, he begins typing. A post, viral, pure campus beauty, uses period blood to fake virginity and scam money with 18 sugar daddies demanding refunds. He casually drafts the main text and attaches the photos Chloe took earlier. According to the plan, Nina will be dumped by Preston and left $500,000 in debt when her life completely implodes. Gavin's post will be the final straw that breaks her. Remembering everything from his past life, a ruthless gleam flashes in his eyes. It is time for Nina to pay. In the evening, Winter asks Gavin out to dinner. Passing by a flower shop, he buys a bouquet of white magnolias. By the time Winter arrives, dusk has already fallen. She is wearing a light camel trench coat over a long white lace sweater dress paired with boots. She also holds a beautiful bouquet. Gavin walks up to her in 3 quick steps, offering the white magnolias. Winter takes the flowers, a look of pleasant surprise shining in her eyes. Soon she hands over the flowers she brought. Gavin is a bit surprised. Jasmine flowers. A sudden poetic phrase flashes through his mind. Giving you jasmine means hoping you never leave in Chinese. For a moment, Gavin's heart felt sweet as honey. He wondered if she wanted to give him flowers, just because he was planning to do the same. Winter lowered her gaze, suddenly too shy to look directly at him. During lunch, his assistant Wang Xuan told him that everyone loves matched efforts. Winter's voice sounded completely flat as she spoke, but her flushed earlobes gave her away. This was clearly all new to her. She had never done this before. It was Winter's very first time learning how to love. Gavin couldn't help but ask if she wanted him to match her every action. Winter nodded, her gaze locking deeply onto the man standing right in front of her. She suddenly got up and sat right next to him, confessing her love to Gavin. She asked him to be her boyfriend, making his heart race completely out of control. Honestly, his blood was rushing. He knew her confession meant so much more. He knew exactly how heavy those words were, despite how simple they seemed. Gavin answered very seriously, happily agreeing to be her boyfriend. But that wasn't enough for Winter. She wiped the sweat from his temple. She told him she wanted him to love her to the point of dying for her. She wanted him to live just for her, leaving his ears burning hot with emotion. His heart leaped with pure joy, feeling as if a missing piece was finally filled. The void from his past life was gone. This had to be true happiness. Gavin asked if this meant they were officially together as a couple. Gently, Winter told him he could confirm their relationship as often as he wanted. She repeated her love for Gavin, making his face flush red once again. She teased him to eat before the food got cold, even offering to feed him. She leaned in close to his ear, letting her words linger with playful tension. Gavin realized that when a Yandere plays it straight, she is absolutely irresistible. Their extreme devotion is a total one-shot kill to the heart. He remained completely distracted throughout the hot pot dinner. Afterward, they went for a stroll. Walking through the streets of U City, he held Winter's hand tightly. He happily repeated her name, and she softly agreed she felt the same. Gavin felt like a complete fool, unable to stop smiling the entire walk. With the National Day holiday coming up, he asked her to go home with him. His parents would love her, and with a soft smile, Winter readily agreed. She leaned in close as they captured a sweet photo of them together. Both of them smiled happily under the soft, snow-like glow of the moonlight. Yet even the moon couldn't match the sheer gentleness in Winter's eyes. Gavin made their relationship official online, posting the exact picture they had just taken. Over at a hotel, Nena rolled over and saw a notification on her phone. It was from Chloe, urging her to look because Gavin had made it official. The attached screenshot showed Gavin's post, since Nena herself was already blocked. The shocking news made the phone slip right out of her trembling hand. Being a girl herself, she could instantly read the look in Winter's eyes. Nena simply couldn't accept that Gavin had completely moved on from her. She couldn't stand that his new girlfriend was thousands of times better. Most of all, she hated the fact that Gavin was actually genuinely loved. It was unbearable to see two people so deeply in love with each other. Naz's entire body trembled uncontrollably, suddenly feeling completely devastated. Everything she had held onto was completely meaningless, and all her effort could not compare to Gavin's single post. The announcement was a massive blow. Absolutely lethal. The worst part was knowing everything she did was for Gavin. Naz sobbed in despair as the middle-aged man pulled her into his arms. He whispered that crying would ruin her pretty face, offering to buy her a gift. He offered a luxury brand bag and promised to transfer $30,000. Naz sobbed and rested her head gently on the older man's shoulder. She thanked Uncle Wang, softly telling him that he always treated her the best. But she warned him she might not visit to keep him company as often. The middle-aged man froze as she claimed she needed to focus on her studies. She wanted a successful career just like him, making the man grin. He agreed to meet whenever she was free before putting on his clothes. Once he left, she opened her chat with Preston on her phone. She texted him, confessing her love and asking to officially be his girlfriend. Preston agreed, but warned her that he was extremely possessive of his girls. He demanded she belong to him completely and cut off all other men. After a transfer of $50,000, Na was absolutely overjoyed. She accepted the digital red envelope on the spot without any hesitation. Preston instantly screenshotted the transaction notification and sent it to Gavin. He proudly reported that the fish had finally taken the bait. He warned Gavin not to send 520 or 1314. Those symbolic slang numbers meant love and could never be legally recovered. Gavin got the message, letting Preston stabilize the target for. He plans to bait her, turning her entire roster of guys into a toxic wasteland. Ding, transfer received, 100,000. Upon receiving the money, Preston almost cries. If only he knew Nena was like this. Why pour his heart out? Seriously, the guy even wasted money on. KHLO, Gavin really is the best. Winter looks up from her work with a sharp glance and pulls Gavin close. Those intense eyes show absolute, unhidden possessiveness. A lingering, passionate kiss lands on his Adam's apple. He looks back at her. With blurry eyes, "Stop bullying me, you dog," he playfully complains. Winter just grins, a smug flash in her eyes. No more chatting with other people for so long from now on. Right then, Butler Luke rushes in. Wyatt is dead. Suicide. He jumped off a building. Gavin stands utterly shocked. What is going on? Winter just shakes her head innocently, claiming her own heart truly aches for her late nephew. He was just mischievous. Quinn also chimes in, wondering if Wyatt always had mental issues. He probably couldn't handle his father's cold shoulder. Is suicide not incredibly common among youth these days? Quinn continues, telling Gavin not to overthink it. Meanwhile, he sinks deep into thought. All right then, since they do not know, he won't ask any further. Time for school, university. Below the boys' dorms, Nena waits obediently for Preston. The moment she spots him, she Na happily ran up. Preston, you're here. Preston just glanced back at Na. Weren't you supposed to bring me breakfast? Sorry, I forgot. Nena lowers her head with guilt, promising to buy him a gift later to make up for it. She looks completely pitiful, easily triggering sympathy from those around her. If it were the old Preston, he would have been hooked immediately, but now his expression is freezing cold. You can't even remember to bring a simple breakfast, he snaps, wondering how he could have ever liked someone like her. If she cannot think of a way to make him happy by tonight, they are breaking up. He walks away, leaving Nena standing there completely dumbfounded on the spot. She wonders how Preston became like this when she did everything right. As the ultimate campus belle, she decides that all men in the world are jerks. Bystanders sigh in disbelief, just as Sammy leisurely strolls out of the dorms. Spotting the arguing couple, he can't help but grin at their misery. But grins, mockingly asking why their great campus belle is eating from her bowl. From her own bowl while eyeing the pot as a crowd gathers. Everyone starts whispering about the dramatic history between Nena and Gavin. Even Zyro Yingying is surprised, looking at Nena with a face full of disbelief. She mentions remembering how Gavin used to be absolutely obsessed with Nena. Nena feels utterly humiliated after Preston threw a massive public tantrum. And then getting chewed out by Sammy, while even random onlookers question her charm. Nena bites her lip, desperately trying to think of a way out. She suddenly blurts out that Gavin is just trying to make her mad, claiming he even begged her to get back together because he can't let her go. Sammy snorts that she was blocked ages ago, rolling his eyes at the shameless liar. Sammy rolls his eyes just as a luxury Maybach pulls into the lot. And look who's stepping out of the car, it's Gavin, looking incredibly rich. Watching Gavin walk toward her, Nena feels her heart completely stop. Gavin smiles and walks right past her toward Sammy, ignoring her existence. Gavin ignores her completely, asking Sammy to help him unload his new gear from the trunk. He thought about introducing Winter, but remembered how terrified Sammy got last time. So Gavin decides it is probably best to hold off on that. Sammy happily nods, immediately throwing some incredibly sharp, sarcastic shade right at Nena. Sammy asks why she's being completely ignored if Gavin was pursuing her. Honestly, you can't make this up. She's living in absolute delusion. This brutal combo of verbal blows almost makes Nena faint from pure humiliation. Nena starts crying, quickly putting on her most pitiful, helpless expression. She begs Gavin, asking how Sammy can say such awful things. Gavin takes 2 steps back in disgust, coldly telling her to get lost. Nena stares in shock, asking if there's truly nothing left in his heart. She desperately points out that she is already dating someone. She boastfully promises to break up with him instantly if Gavin just nods his head. Nena throws open her arms, stepping forward to hug Gavin right in front of everyone. Gavin warns the campus beauty that any closer step means self-defense. But Nena keeps marching forward, completely ignoring his very clear, harsh warning. Gavin calmly pulls gloves out of his pocket and prepares a brutal shoulder throw. He slams her down, shocking the entire crowd. She looks so pitiful. This beautiful campus icon is now acting completely submissive. In this moment, Nena finally realized her feelings, real feelings for Gavin. As she crawled up, high heels stopped her, sharp, unforgiving. Nena froze instantly. Her entire body went completely stiff right there. Looking up, she met a gaze, ice cold, bone-chilling. Winter bent down. Staring down coldly, Winter whispered, "You seem pretty interested in my man." Hearing those words, Nena almost fainted on the spot from absolute terror. Ignoring her pain, she quickly scrambled back up to her feet. She stammered, "I am sorry, I do not dare, I have zero interest in Gavin. It is all a misunderstanding. Meanwhile, Sammy just stood there, completely shocked. He quietly backed away, realizing just how terrifying this icy goddess really was. But Winter simply turned toward Gavin, gently fixing his messy hair. Asking whose he was, Gavin kissed her cheek and whispered, "Yours, Winter." She gave a soft hum, then stood on her tiptoes to kiss his forehead back. The watching crowd gasped in unison, while Nenna felt her heart completely shatter. She could no longer lie to herself that they were just casual friends. Reality hit her hard. They were a real, devoted couple who truly loved each other. This was definitely not some one-sided obsession. Just then, Preston marched right up. He demanded to know what was wrong, and Nenna immediately clung to him, weeping. She begged him to stand up for her and help her against these bullies. Hearing her pleas, Preston looked up and coldly eyed both Winter and Gavin. But a second later, Preston scoffed. He simply threw out a line. "Stop acting so innocent. You brought this entirely on yourself," he said. He shoved her hands away in pure disgust, warning her to stop bothering him. Nenna felt utterly humiliated, her mind completely fracturing under the public shame. Preston scowled at her, telling her to hurry up and get lost. He threatened to break up with her if she did not apologize by tonight. With that threat, he walked away in an absolutely miserable mood. The pristine goddess he spent so much time chasing was just another gold digger. As long as a guy had cash, she would happily beg for his attention. Watching the drama unfold, Sammy muttered that she got exactly what she deserved. Calling it instant karma, he walked over and asked Gavin why he kept secrets. Gavin raised an eyebrow and teased him about buying that life insurance policy. Winter looked at Sammy with a remarkably calm and unruffled expression. She introduced herself simply as Gavin's girlfriend, leaving Sammy totally flustered. He quickly greeted her as sister-in-law, offering to buy them dinner tonight. Hearing that magic title, Winter's icy aura instantly began to soften. She quietly glanced over at Quinn, giving him a silent, knowing look. Quinn immediately understood, pulling 10,000 in crisp cash from his briefcase. He handed the stack to Sammy, praising him for using the correct title. "Consider this a little reward from the lady boss for your good manners." Sammy stared at the heavy stack of 10,000, completely speechless. He promised to watch Gavin closely and report any flirting immediately. Hearing this, the fierce icy beauty suddenly felt a bit shy. Flustered and quiet, she really had no idea how to respond. It was simply to tell Quinn to bring more money. Obliging immediately, Quinn pulled out 30,000 in cold hard cash, handing it to Sammy. "Congratulations, you've gained our boss Winter's ultimate approval." The onlookers could only watch in absolute shock. Talk about a dream sister-in-law. Who wouldn't want a boss like her in the family? Sammy's knees buckled. He had never seen this much raw cash in his entire life. He shook his head, insisting that as long as Gavin was happy, that was plenty. He could feel his friend's joy, adding there was no need to spend so much. Winter frowned, quietly analyzing Sammy's reasons for turning down the cash. Finally, she just ordered Quinn to give him all of it. Quinn promptly pulled out another 100,000 in cash for Sammy. Boss Winter likely thought the previous amount was too small. Next time she might just buy him a car or a whole house instead. Sammy's eyes nearly popped right out of his head. For the first time in his life, he experienced the sheer burden of holding more money than his hands could grasp. Turns out over 100 grand in cash is incredibly heavy. Sammy scratched his head, smiling so wide that suddenly tears welled up in his eyes. He wished Gavin endless happiness, truly overjoyed to see him doing this well. Soon, night fell over the Shanghua Group headquarters. Winter had just wrapped up a meeting. Her assistant, Wang Shuhuan, stepped forward to take her jacket, mentioning young Master Liam had invited her to a dance tonight. After that, they could negotiate the northern suburb land. "Not going," Winter replied. She sat back in her chair with closed eyes. Wang Shuhuan froze. If they did not attend, that lucrative land would go to someone else. Winter looked up with a firm expression, stating she would never do anything to make Gavin sad, Just then, Quinn pushed. The door opened, looking pleasantly surprised. He had some big news. Boss Winter, guess what? Young Master Liam actually came to our lobby in person. He wants to take you out for dinner to talk. It looks like that northern suburb land is ours, Wang Shu Huan rubbed her temples in frustration. Winter's face immediately went cold. Tell that Liam guy to leave. Quinn awkwardly scratched his head, confessing that he had already escorted him to the reception room. Winter cast a freezing look at him, ordering him to go back down and kick Liam out. But suddenly, Liam appeared at the door wearing a polished, gentle smile. He remarked that it was raining outside, offering her a ride home before leaving. He added that while he lacked many friends, he truly admired her and felt they were cut from the same cloth. Hearing that comparison, Winter found it incredibly ironic. She asked him in a freezing tone if he was even worthy. Hearing this, both Wang Shu Huan and Quinn were stunned. She was actually throwing away a massive business deal. That land in the northern suburbs was worth easily $1 billion, and Winter was sacrificing it just to make Gavin feel at ease. Liam scoffed, muttering that whether he was worthy or not, they would only know after trying. His eyes darkened as he noted that a forced melon isn't sweet, but he just wanted to quench his thirst. His family ran a prominent enterprise in New City. Though no match for Winter, he was still vastly superior to her little boy toy. Hearing this, Winter scoffed in disgust. She threatened to call security to throw him out, standing up to grab her suit jacket. Completely done with him, Liam could only watch in frustration. Liam tries to grab Winter's hand. She swiftly twists to dodge, then plants a kick squarely in Liam's abdomen. Got a death wish, don't touch me. Liam is kicked so hard he trembles all over, unable to believe he was rejected so thoroughly, not even getting a meal. Downstairs, he happens to spot Gavin holding an umbrella to pick up Winter. She asks why he came to pick her up today. Because I missed you, Gavin says, pulling a chocolate cake out of a bag. Winter's expression pauses, but she still takes it. Seeing this, Liam laughs. You are that boy toy hanging around Winter, aren't you? Even a suitor like me knows she is allergic to chocolate, yet you don't even know. This is hilarious. Winter, you treat him so well, but he is this careless. Don't you feel your sincerity is being wasted? Hearing this, Gavin's expression freezes. This was indeed something he had not noticed. He failed Winter in his past life, and in this life, he only recently, belatedly, realized he loved her. He softly apologizes. Sorry, Winter, I will remember. This, the disdain in Liam's eyes grows even stronger. Do you even know how precious a person Winter is when you don't even know how to cherish her? Winter, break up with him. I will cherish you with all my heart and absolutely never let you suffer any grievances. Hearing these words makes Gavin feel even guiltier. Right now, he only knows she likes strawberries. He didn't even know she was allergic to chocolate. While he is zoning out, Winter grabs his hand. In the next second, Winter takes the Black Forest cake from his hand. Looking coldly at Liam, keep your useless concern to yourself. I am not allergic to chocolate at all. Gavin is the only one who treats me well, and I only need him to treat me well. With that, she puts a piece of the cake into her mouth. Seeing this, Quinn is completely dumbfounded. Boss Winter really is allergic. He suddenly remembers something Boss Winter had said before. If it was him feeding me poison, I would eat it without hesitation. It actually wasn't just a sweet nothing. It was a fact, Gavin says in an icy tone. He admits he just got together with Winter, and he might not know her perfectly well yet. But it is not your place as an outsider to worry about it. If I see you harassing her again, I will not let you off lightly. Fine, fine, fine. Liam glares at Gavin viciously and turns to leave. Winter, just you wait. By this time, Winter's face is already starting to flush red. Quinn is incredibly anxious. Boss Winter, I will go buy you medicine right now. No. Winter opens the car door and sits in the back seat. Gavin feels helpless and can only follow her into the car. By the time they arrive at the Rose Manor, Winter's Condition is already looking terrible. Her face is flushed red and her body is burning hot. He holds her in his arms, taking the elevator up to the floor where the bedroom is, then gently lays her on the bed. He says, I know why. You did not take the medicine. You felt that I really did not know about your chocolate allergy to save face for me in front of an outsider. You forced yourself to eat it. If you took allergy medicine right after coming home, that would be proving to an outsider that I really don't understand you, right? Winter, I promise you, I will pay more attention to you from now on. Okay. Winter shakes her head, looking up at him and whispering softly, I'm sorry, I almost. Gavin wondered if he heard wrong. Why was little Winter apologizing? She promised to never let Liam near her again, fearing Gavin's unhappiness. Winter's voice held deep regret as she refused to take her medicine. She did not want people misunderstanding him, curling up in the bed. She wrapped herself tightly in the blanket, staring with wide, pitiful eyes. She looked so helpless, complete innocence melting Gavin's heart instantly. He quickly stepped forward, pulling her tightly into a warm, protective embrace. He admitted he had no idea she was actually allergic to chocolate. But he was ready to love her forever, begging her to take it. Winter nodded and took the medicine, hiding a flash of dark cunning. She felt unwell. Still, Gavin was determined to change his path. He stopped simping for the childhood crush he had chased for 18 years. Instead, he married a completely unhinged and obsessive Yandere female boss. While others called Gavin cold and heartless, he knew she was his love. In his past life, he spent 5 long years chasing the popular school beauty. He paid a massive $3 million bride price just to marry her. After their wedding, he worked relentlessly, pushing himself to the absolute limit. He made it. He fought hard to become a multimillionaire. But that treacherous wife poisoned his wine, all for her secret lover. The poison triggered a fatal cardiac arrest, sending him straight to the grave. Only then did he realize his soul saw everything clearly now. Winter had been silently watching over and protecting him the entire time. She attended his funeral, throwing away all of her wealth and status. She personally eliminated that trashy, murderous couple to let his soul rest. She stumbled over to his coffin, staring down at his eternally sleeping face. With a trembling voice, she asked why he could not just stay. From the very beginning, he was the only one she ever wanted. Hovering there in midair, Gavin's spirit stared down, feeling utterly shattered by the revelation. She did not hesitate. She took her own life to join him. He threw his arms open, desperately trying to stop her tragic end. But his ghostly hands could grasp nothing except for the empty air. He could not understand why one woman used him while another died. His spectral heart was torn apart. It was ripped completely to shreds. A sudden message popped up about a gift for his new wife. Reading this, Gavin instantly felt that something was seriously off here. He got the sinking feeling that he was about to be totally sold out. Before he could reply, a friend asked him to hit the internet cafe. Gavin shook his head instantly. There was no way he could bring Winter there. She was an elegant eldest princess who did not belong in smelly cafes. But temptation hit. Earth mode was just too good to pass up. So he ended up asking her if she was free that day. Winter smiled softly, and he rubbed his hands together with pure excitement. He offered to teach her how to play, and she readily agreed. Hearing this, their driver Quinn twitched his eye in sheer disbelief. An elite princess playing video games seemed completely out of character for her. They plan to secure more projects. Winter smiles gently and agrees, eventually. Their car arrives at the destination. The seats Sammy booked are in a private room in the corner by the window on the second floor, sitting there. Winter instinctively wants to maintain her focused work mode, but remembering that Gav's friend is treating them today, she decisively turns off her phone, takes off her black gloves and puts them in her bag. She sits up straight, waiting. Why does she give off this inexplicably well-behaved vibe? Gav cannot help but Laugh, he asks if she's feeling socially anxious, and Winter simply shakes her head. She mentions she knows how much he cares about this friend. To others, she is the feared boss Winter, but today she is his girlfriend, wanting to make a great impression. He is completely dumbfounded, realizing his past life judgment of her was entirely wrong. Even Quinn is incredibly surprised. Everyone knows Boss Winter is a ruthless character who calmly handles deadly assassinations, yet she is actually getting nervous today. It shows Gav is deeply important to her. So important that his friends are highly valued. Fortunately, Sammy does not let this sincerity go to waste. Upon arrival, he brings two thoughtful treasures, greeting them warmly. He explains his father knew someone of her caliber. Surely does not lack money and has seen every luxury imaginable. Because of that, he brought unique gifts to show his true sincerity. First is some delicious homemade broad bean paste from his mother, perfect to eat with rice. Next are matching couples mugs, custom engraved with their names alongside some sweet romantic wishes. Sammy hopes she likes them, wishing her and Gav a sweet and perfect life together. As Sammy rambles on with his presentation, Winter becomes increasingly unsure of what to do. Even though she maintains a calm and composed look on the outside, her hand under the table is nervously clutching the hem of her skirt. She looks to Gav for help, whispering to ask what she should do. Gav gently cups her face, giving her a reassuring kiss, telling her to accept them gracefully. He thinks the couple's mugs are wonderful. Only then does Winter nod, thanking Sammy. Sammy sneakily runs over to Winter, whispering that he has one ultimate gift package. He suggests looking at it secretly without letting Gav know. Winter is not nearly as tense as before. She nods, stands up, and walks over to Sammy, who suddenly feels an intense wave of pressure. He hands over his phone straight to Winter and scurries away like he is escaping, standing right next to Gav. Sammy explains he screenshotted everything in an album. As Winter looks at the screen, she reads the diary entries. A pretty older sister visited the house and offered to sponsor his studies. He is incredibly grateful to her. When the power went out previously, she was very frightened, so he went and bought a battery-powered backup desk lamp, hoping she would like it. She still does not want him calling her an older sister, so he agrees to address her as Miss Weeze, though she seemed even more upset. Lately, she's been acting quite unusual. Although he always respected her, he knows men and women should maintain a proper distance. Still, she remains incredibly important to him, so he resolves to keep his distance in public while secretly caring for her. The entry ends mentioning her chronic headaches are starting to flare up again. She probably was not sleeping well lately. Dr. Wright had mentioned she would feel better if Gavin kept her company, but he still valued her reputation above all. He hoped his beloved older sister would one day find someone who truly cared for her, someone just as outstanding as she was, who would treat her wonderfully. He aced his exam that day, and seeing his older sister smile made it perfect. He was incredibly happy. These were old social media posts from before Gavin met Nena. Sammy did it all to make his sister-in-law happy. Winter gasped. She never imagined that the boy she cherished had cared so deeply. It turned out their feelings were mutual all along. Her heart swelled with emotion. Her eyelashes fluttered softly as she scrolled down to see the final post. Her eyes shook. She felt like her soul had been completely drained. Gavin had written that he fell for her, praying she would never find out. He planned to distract himself, wondering how he could ever be worthy of her. She was too wonderful. The post dated back to his freshman high school year. Seeing how early his feelings began, a wave of bittersweet emotion hit Winter. Bitter sadness crossed her eyes, a mix of regret and intense longing. Once this situation was over, she definitely needed to interrogate him properly. He had kept her waiting in the dark for such a very long time. Winter quickly collected herself and thanked Sammy from the bottom of her heart. Quinn did not wait to be asked. He walked straight up to Sammy. He pulled out $50,000 in cold cash, making Sammy panic instantly. Sammy looked terrified, stammering that he never wanted to make money this way. He insisted he would easily earn $1 million a year after graduating anyway. Just as Sammy relaxed, Quinn handed him the cash along with a heavy bag. He ordered him to take it, adding that $200,000 was enough. Boss Winter had also gifted Sammy a classic Ferrari 488 sports car. Butler Luke had already parked the luxury ride right downstairs at his place. The car cost around $4 million. As soon as Quinn finished, Sammy froze. Looking down, Sammy found a sleek Ferrari key sitting in his trembling palm. Honestly, who wouldn't want a sister-in-law who drops sports cars like candy? Sammy trembled. This was too much. He promised to protect his sister-in-law if Gavin ever bullied her. Gavin just smiled, patting him on the shoulder and telling him to keep it. Gavin even teased that his girlfriend was quite gentle. Sammy nodded frantically, like a bobblehead, agreeing that she was indeed the sweetest angel alive. He would guard her forever. Winter felt slightly embarrassed. She quickly invited everyone to eat. After lunch, Gavin searched for premium internet cafes nearby, eventually finding a spot that charged $50 an hour. He promised to teach Winter how to dominate the gaming world. Winter nodded softly. Watching their cute dynamic, Sammy could not help but laugh. He realized those online rumors slandering his sister-in-law were complete lies. She was not fierce at all. Right then, Liam appeared down the street. He walked slowly, but upon spotting Winter, he rushed forward in pleasant surprise. He smiled, shouting out her name, but before the word Winter even fully escaped his lips, he saw the gentle woman completely transform. Winter raised her hand without expression. Before Liam could even get close, he was gagged by bodyguards lurking in the shadows, grabbed by his arms and legs, and dragged into a dark corner to be beaten to a pulp by those guards right. On the spot, after doing all this, Winter returned to her gentle demeanor. In front of him, she strolled over, gently adjusted his collar and asked if something had just wandered over. Winter looked up, staring at him with those innocent fawn-like eyes. He nodded, pretending he had not seen a single thing. She figured she heard wrong. Inside Goldfish Internet Cafe, things looked pretty nice. He quickly found seats with Winter and began teaching her how to play. While they played their first game of URF, Winter was already looking up guides. She quickly memorized all the strong champions in the current meta. Finally, she entered a match and started testing out the controls. By the time he finished his own match, Winter had basically mastered the basics. The team looked at Winter expectantly. She nodded and entered Summoner's Rift with them. Sammy chuckled, telling his new sister-in-law that this game is not something she can win just by knowing the theory, but he promised to carry her because he was a diamond-tier player. He gently reassured her that they were just playing to relax, with no pressure. But once the match started, they realized they had completely overthought everything. Winter played Katarina and went on an absolute killing spree in URF. When the match ended, Winter stared at the screen with a cold, aloof expression, looking like an absolute pro. She just did not know how to exit the stats screen to start the next round. Sammy slumped on his sofa in absolute defeat. Honestly, who can blame him for feeling useless? He asked his sister-in-law if she had any interest in going pro, pointing out that she could easily make hundreds of millions of dollars. Hearing that, Winter frowned, muttering that it sounded a bit low. She looked up at Quinn and told him to give their club players a raise next month. Stunned, Sammy had to ask what she actually did for a living. Winter took off her headphones, walked over to Gabe, and told him to explain. He smiled, telling Sammy that his new sister-in-law was way more badass than any normal CEO.